All right, what's up, guys? Sorry for the little bit of delay. We had to do a lot of adjustments on OBS, but we're here now. Welcome to tonight's festivities. We are going to be doing a tier list for Pro Tour Singapore. With me, I have some handsome and knowledgeable cardboard nerds. Got Aaron Grace, we got Nathan Crawford, and we have Damian Riggins. Today, we're going to be going over everything Pro Tour Singapore. This time we decided to change it up a little bit. We are doing this live because, well, we've had some requests to do it live. Also, Nathan, you were supposed to have a stream, but that didn't work out. So we decided to improvise a little bit. So we got chat pulled up. We got the guys here. We got a beautiful new tier list style. One of the good feedbacks we got from the last tier list was that there was too much clumping, especially towards the bottom left. And so we decided we're going to kind of mix a tier list with a meta share with an alignment chart. So normally alignment charts are, chaotic good, lawful good, lawful evil, all that. Normally that's a 3x3, but there are 5x5 alignment charts, and I think that will help us categorize our 34 plus Eugene heroes for tonight. So basically, we're not going to go exact on like, okay, this hero is 0.5 stronger than this hero. We are just going to dump them in one of these 25 categories and kind of call it a day. And anything within that category is roughly the same. We're not going to worry about the exact positioning within each of these. And this will help us kind of spread out a little bit more, differentiate a little bit more. Each of these boxes can hold about 9 heroes based on how I've configured this. So there shouldn't be too much clumping. Let's just quickly go over how we like to do tier lists. We've done like 2 or 3 of these in the same manner. Basically, on the y-axis, we have the viability of the heroes. So this is a combination of raw strength. So that means like their card pool, like how many codexes do you have in your deck, or codex-like cards do you have in your deck, your equipment suite, and all that. Hero ability obviously is very important, specialization, stuff like that. Combined with your meta position. So this means like you can have a very strong deck. I think we'll get into this a little bit. Like Florian has strong cards. However, you might not be correctly positioned against what we deem to be the meta. And so you're likely to get either a couple auto losses because you're just going to run into these popular decks, or you're going to have a lot of unfavored matchups at the top tables, and that's going to make making a deep run difficult. On the x-axis, we have the meta share. So because we are at the point where we have 30-something heroes, in the past, a large meta share would be like 25, 30%. Nowadays, anything over 10% is already pretty popular. There was a little bit of Lexi and Aurora kind of stick out as being like they were like widely more represented than what we expected. But in general, we were pretty good at predicting the meta share for the top decks at least. But yeah, we organized 5 different categories here. We have 0, which basically this is Betsy, Olympia, and their friends are going to go over here. Low means hardcore specialists are going to play this and not very many other people. Low means this is like fringe decks, dark horse picks, and then medium is, slightly off meta picks or decks that people are just comfortable with. Maybe they qualified for this Pro Tour. The best example is I can give you is people like qualified with Lexi, so they played Lexi. They qualified with Florian, so they might play Florian, something like that. And then obviously we're going to have the large meta share decks. We're going to try to make sure that roughly this adds up to 100. But we'll kind of work on it as we go. All right, guys, I'm going to open up the floor a little bit to you guys. What do we want to start with? I feel like generally we've tried to nail down a good example of a top tier deck, and then a good example of like a middle tier deck, and then kind of build around that, kind of generally going with the higher tier decks, just so we can have context for the the dark horses. So what's a good hero to start off with, guys?
Well, the meta is kind of revolved around Gravy right now, so do you think we should start there? Because a lot of the other heroes' positions will kind of be related to how their matchup into that hero is.
Sure. Let's start off with Gravy. So Gravy, as you guys know, came out in high seas. This is a hero that had a breakout performance at U.S. Nationals, getting second place, and then has done very, very well in the last couple of weeks at Nationals. We've also seen a lot of top tier players start to migrate to this deck, and this is a deck that is fairly complex, not fairly complex, extremely complex in terms of its lines. And because this is a board state based deck, it does have fairly polarizing matchups. I wouldn't say to the extreme degree that Prism, OG Prism, and Dromai had, but this is still an illusionist in Necromancer's clothing. So, where do you guys think this hero currently stands? What are some good matchups, bad matchups? Where do we want to put him?
Well, the representation will definitely be more than 8%, for sure. I think a lot of people will bring him. I think he's probably in a vacuum, probably the best room. Um, Counter that a little bit by the fact that he's got to be the number one target for just about every deck. So he's going to lose some percentage points there, but for sure he'll be there in numbers for sure.
Okay,
I think
so
he's
if
going to be one of those decks, kind of like Illusionist, where a lot of people might bring him, but only the select few chosen ones are going to do really, really well with him. There's probably going to be a lot of Gravies who either get bad matchups or just don't know the deck as well as some other players that are just going to have a lot more rough time, where the people who really, really understand how to play the hero or perhaps get a bit lucky with the gem roulette will succeed a lot more.
Mhm. Could you guys break down a little bit on the good matchups, bad matchups, a little bit more, so we have some context?
Yeah, so his most obvious like bad matchups are the ninjas usually.
Mhm.
While they are beatable, we've seen Gravies beat Cindras before in recent events and with a lot of personal Gravy players' testaments. It is a uphill battle for the most part. Ninja has all the tools that they need to deal with allies while presenting enough meaningful damage on Gravy to pressure him. So even though he can win against most decks, he doesn't really want to see things like Cindra, Katsu, Ira, and then Slippy has had a huge resurgence recently, and that matchup is a little spooky because Slippy doesn't have the downside that some of the other heroes do in terms of lacking action point economy, but he still has a lot of high damage and disruptive plays that he can kind of split between clearing and threatening the Gravy. And then his good matchups are obviously anything that's slow, can't deal with allies, or doesn't present a reasonable clock to Gravy's face. So Florian, Guardians, a lot of rogue decks that just don't have the power level to deal with what Gravy's doing, because Gravy, what he's naturally doing is just very high power, and you need a specific tool set in your hero's card pool to, deal with it.
Sure. I'd like to point out two heroes in particular here because I think they're really really good against Gravy, and they might be part of our dark horses for Pro Tour Singapore. We have Ira. They just came out with the Ira Armory deck that had a lot of cards that benefits that deck, and then we also have Dorinthia, who has a very unique matchup against Gravy. Both of those heroes do very very well against Gravy, and I think we're going to see a decent amount of those. So, if a Gravy gets paired into one of those, that's, I don't want to say an auto loss, but it's pretty close to unlosable if you draw decently. Um, I also uh, want to point out that this is a hero that is hard to tech for. So, traditionally with Dromai, Enigma, they were uh, OG Prism, you just threw in Command and Conquer and said, "Hi, I got some poppers," or you could add in a time snap potion, you could add in the boots to give action points, whatever. Uh, Are there any tech cards that are good against Gravy? And if so, how does that affect the meta?
Blanche.
Blanche is insane.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
that's like one of the most disgusting on hits you can throw at Gravy, and it's accessible for all heroes. Although some play it more than others or need it more than others, but if you really want to just bully Gravy, that's like one of the best generic tools you can have.
because it comes in at a break point, and generally they're just running 3 to 6 reacts, and they don't have armor to block it. And it's an on hit that they actually care about because they need a blue to get their allies out.
Yeah, and like whether or not they block it or not, they don't have a turn, because if their hand is really good, and most of their hands will be stopped by Blanche because it turns off High Tide and the hero power. If you block the Blanche, you're not able to. You don't have the hand that you wanted to play out anyways. And if you eat the Blanche, then your cards don't do the thing that they say they do. So you're just kind of screwed either way, for the most part. Now, it does depend on what hero's throwing it as well, because with some heroes like Guardian, if their play is just throw Blanche past, they're not really dealing with the allies as much, and you kind of just run into that problem. Well, okay, they'll just wait till next turn and do it again, and you're not really threatening anything, or you're not board clearing. But if you're playing maybe like a warrior or an assassin or something that can present some kind of go again with a Blanche as a chain ender, to either clear or bait blocks or deal damage or whatever, then it's a lot more effective.
Right. Speaking of chain enders, Warmonger's Diplomacy, I also realized, was pretty good against Gravy. Basically saying, hey, you got to set up, or you got to, depending on the texture of their hand, it might really, really mess them up. Although we've seen Gravy's trending a little bit more towards attack actions. Is that fair to say, or am I crazy on that?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I see a lot of sloops and stuff.
Sloops.
So
I would say
Conquered.
yes, but it makes Warmongers even better, in my opinion, because it decreases the amount of times that they can just double ally. Because you can't really utilize Sloop under Diplomacy either, because you have to find a way to get the extra pitch in the bin, unless you just happen to have a Conqueror to go with it.
Right. Speaking of Conqueror, Crown of Providence stonks going up a little bit, I think. It's a good helmet to bring against them. Okay, so let's decide where we want to put him. I guess we're putting him either in one of either large S tier or large A tier. Where are we feeling?
I think if you want to evaluate him on a tier list in terms of his own raw power level, I would say he's an S tier in terms of strength. However, I think that there are enough decks that are trying to target him, and everyone is trying to target him no matter what hero they're playing. There's a bunch of random decks that he doesn't want to see. Like, I've heard that his Oscilio matchup is really bad, and that's a deck that people are starting to get more and more favorable towards. So I think in that context, where it's just all of the matchups he doesn't want to see and all of the tough tech he's going to have to fight through, he's more in that A tier zone as a choice to play at the tournament. But he's definitely S tier in terms of strength.
Right. So his raw
I agree with
strength is S, meta position is A. So I guess we could kind of just put him on the line. Well, depending on how we feel, we might be strict with our 25 zones, but we'll just keep him on the line for now. All right, let's talk about another meta-defining hero. You mentioned Slippy. I do think this is a deck that we need to talk about. So you mentioned something like action point economy. Back when Chain was printed, and then we had OG Luminaris, eventually LSS learned, hey, we can't just print action points on a hero or weapon, things like Voltaire. And they're like, all right, guys, if you want your double action points, you're going to have to work for it. And then they printed Slippy. So, basically getting 2 guaranteed actions per turn. Extremely disruptive. Can utilize full tempo pretty well. Has some evasion. Gets to play 45 Majestics. Has access to Codex. No doubt raw strength is an S, but how is he looking like in terms of the meta position? Now, this was one of the most played decks in the Nat season, and it kind of picked up at the end as people started to hop onto it. I guess we also have to talk about this deck in context of New leaving, which obviously helped Slippy because you don't want to give New free go again. And New was incentivizing people heavily to play Snag in the sideboard. And we've seen Snag as a sideboard card drop off a little bit, although I think with Slippy being probably one of the most represented decks at Pro Tour Singapore, we might see either D-Reacts or Snag come back into play a little bit. So what do you guys think about Slippy?
I think he's one of the best decks to bring. I think he's one of the premier aggro decks. I think that I can think of 1,000 reasons of why you would bring this deck over a deck like Cindra. The only thing that really takes this hero down is if there is a deck that can somehow enter the meta that's very defensively postured. This could be anything from like a mid-range Ira that can flex into a package for gravy. It could be, as long as there's nothing like that exists, it's just the best way to play aggro, with maybe the exception of Dio. And I think it's a great deck to pick. I think it'll come up in once again plus 8%, large representation, and I would probably put him as high as S tier.
I mean, his worst matchups have been like Florian and other assassins kind of abusing his hero power and doing the assassin thing better. But New's gone. Arakni Marionette is kind of played, not super a lot, so you don't have to worry about it constantly. And even so, that matchup isn't as like nightmarish as you would think with like the popular dagger builds. But the Trinity so far in like the meta and national season has kind of been like Cindra, Verdance, and Gravy, and Slippy is like one of the few heroes in the game that have pretty solid matchups into all of them, where almost any other deck kind of struggles into at least one of those three.
The combination of aggro and disruption is like fundamentally kind of broken. I think I mentioned this during our Hong Kong stream, Nathan, that in a MOBA, if you have a tank carry, like how are you supposed to kill them? Like when you deal with an aggressive disruptive deck, like how are you supposed to deal with that?
Well, it's like how Lexi used to be, where she was the best aggro deck, but she could randomly Arctic Incarceration you.
Give you 3 Frostbites, Yeah. I'll briefly mention that I think this is a deck that might have some issues against very, very defensive decks. Now, currently, very, very defensive decks are kind of pushed out a little bit by the board state deck Gravy. Also, Cindra is not awful into defensive decks. Verdance obviously destroys defensive decks that don't put a clock on her. But if people decide to roll the dice, they decide to bring more D-Reacts, Snag in their sideboard. Maybe they disrespect Kano, so then they can add extra D-Reacts or something like that. Slippy could have some issues closing out games. I could see, especially if you're playing a package with life gain as well. This is kind of a warrior tangent, but there have been some weird builds that are kind of incorporating a lot of life gain. So
it's okay, Josh. It's always a warrior tangent.
Life gain? CYB's banned, Josh.
I know it's banned, but
playing with Fiddler's Green,
Sigil of Solace, and other things like that. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, we'll chit chat about that later when we get there. But
you also will never know. Like you might just randomly pair into like a random fatigue Jarl or something, and it's just like not what you want to see,
Yeah. Your opponent has to kind of engage with you on like if they're like. If they don't want to play the game with you, it could get kind of annoying. I have accidentally fatigued this deck several times as dual wield warrior. So, all right. Anyways, let's put this hero somewhere on the board. I presume we're going to put this in the top right. Also, is this the deck that people that are spikes, but they don't want to put in a ton of time into a super intricate hero, are going to default to, or is that Cindra?
It's this or Cindra,
Yeah,
but I
it's
think this is the better one. I think Cindra's the
Yeah.
bait deck that sucks, but everyone plays it.
yeah, I
'cause
think
it's easy
Cindra's
and
terrible.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the Pro Tour, Slippy. For the calling, Cindra. I
Okay.
would give those
Yeah.
like assignments.
So the answer is both, but I think Slippy's a better deck.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll put him firmly in the top right quadrant then. You guys started dunking on Cindra. I think that's another hero that we need to talk about. So let's pull her up here. So Cindra, this has been the poster child of either C tier or A tier. We have constantly said on this channel that Cindra is a 45% deck that somehow wins tournaments because people forget how to block MOM. Or they just, I don't know, the Cindra just gets lucky and just gets grid matchups and then gets into the top 8 and then gets good matchups and then, goes from there. Although I do think there's a lot of skill because this is a hero that does have some bad matchups. So, if you do run into a couple of those, you got to find a way to pilot out of them. So this is kind of the default aggro deck, the mono red deck of the format. Doesn't have as much disruption as the other decks. This disruption basically comes in with Mask of Momentum, saying, hey, if you let me hit you, I'm going to hit you harder. Pretty straightforward deck. We haven't seen too much innovation on this deck since the Hunted. I mean, a little bit more blues. We had Clov and Dracai. We have, I don't know, really. I really don't think this deck has evolved that much recently in the last couple of weeks, at least. When you sit down across from a
Claw's
Cindra,
helped a lot.
You know what it. Yeah, Claw's very, 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 very useful. We saw that in play in one of the grand finals actually in the Hong Kong Nets. This is a hero where you sit down across from it, you know what you're going to get. It has some good matchups at the top, notably pretty okay against Gravy. It's obviously very good against Verdance because you don't give them time to set up. Not that great into Slippy because Slippy could output damage and disrupt you. Although, as a Draconic Ninja, you are a little bit more insulated against disruption than most decks because it's like they take a card from you, you're like, okay, my hand converts a little bit less. Maybe I can't buy back my daggers. But it's going to take like multiple turns of back-to-back disruption to really mess with Cindra. You guys were dunking on her a little bit. Tell me about why Cindra may not be the pick for Pro Tour London.
I mean, her conversion rate is just always awful, right?
Yes.
I just don't feel like she does enough.
Like I said before, that even though she is a deck that targets Gravy, she doesn't like consistently dunk on Gravy enough where like you feel like you're getting a bunch of free wins in your tournament, right? And if you bring Cindra to your event and you lose to a Gravy, you just kind of feel like a fool. And then you have to play a bunch of like really close games or uphill battles versus some of these other decks that people are bringing, like Assassin, other aggro decks trying to race you, people randomly bringing Victor to the event. You kind of have to, struggle versus, obviously you can probably win any matchup with the deck. That's just how aggro works. But I think on a consistent basis over a long tournament, I feel like it's just hard to kind of guarantee a very high, positive win rate into like the field you want. I think she does have a pretty good like Verdance matchup, which is pretty nice for her. I think Verdance is a really solid deck that a lot of people are going to kind of default to. And Cindra does really well against her, which is nice.
So this, if I'm hearing this right, her meta position might be decent, but like just raw card strength isn't quite there. Is that kind of where we're at right now?
It's pretty hard to get over a deck that can play efficient hands after giving you 2 cards to your Mask of Momentum.
We see a lot of Cindra's playing Pouncing Links now to kind of like get over that, but then your average turn just isn't threatening anything. You make your opponent start the game with a little bit less life with the Links damage, and you don't, have to worry about getting blocked out. But at the same time, then you're just giving your opponent free agency to choose when they block and how they block. You don't make anything awkward for them. So it's kind of a give and take depending on which mask you do end up playing. But again, like Damien said, I think that most decks that can play efficient 2-card hands and are comfortable blocking down are just going to outvalue Cindra. Like Cindra can't block very effectively. She doesn't have armor. Multiple disruptive turns will put her so far behind. She doesn't have enough like spike to come back enough. So
there's also something to be said about playing aggro decks at Pro Tour, is that it is volatile. This is something that we didn't talk about with Slippy, but I'm going to bring this up. This applies to Slippy and Cindra, is that if you lose the dice roll, you're probably 35, 65, maybe even worse in these aggro mirrors. Slippy, I think I looked at the Nats data. If you went second, or maybe it was Talishar, but if you went second, you were winning like 35% of games in the mirror. Same with Cindra. The tempo loss from not getting to choose first or second is just really, really high, and you come up against two mirrors or aggro mirrors, and you lose a dice roll, your tournament's not really in a good position. Cindra also, in the current meta, doesn't really have any free wins. Like, even the matchup against Gravy is can be difficult. So I also think some of the more fringe decks do pretty well against her. Whether it's Vincent or Kassai or, Prism. Victor, yeah. There's a lot of things that are gonna bully her.
I don't think it's embarrassing to bring Cindra, but I just think that if you are, you're not trying hard enough. Like you're probably
just play Slippy. Just play Slippy.
You're playing.
You're not trying hard. Oh goodness.
You're not angry, you're disappointed is what I'm hearing, Aaron.
Yeah, a little bit. Like that's the best you can come up with. Come on.
Okay. So I think
that's a really good drafter.
I think this is still going to be a very, very represented deck. I'm kind of hearing somewhere around here-ish.
I think it's actually going to take a huge dip in representation. We've seen it where every time you go up in tournaments, from like calling to Nats to Pro Tour, it kind of like loses a little bit every single time. And I think that's just from the player base knowing that that's probably not the best pick. So we'll see where it lands, but
I think it's in the blue. I think it's like B in the blue.
B in the blue. All right, we'll leave her there. I'm going to start moving these into their like zones, because I don't want to have like exact positions on things. I want to have 25 categories, and it's an art, not a science. All right. Okay. We did mention Verdance several times in our analysis of these three heroes. So I think let's pull up her and talk about her. I think this will give us a nice base to analyze the rest of the heroes. So Verdance, obviously the breakout deck at US Nats. Majin Bay won US Nats with Verdance. Got Burn Bear from High Seas. Also got the new split card. And I guess the story at US Nats was this was the deck to bully Florian, which was considered to be one of the best decks, and that's like 80-20, maybe even 85-15 to Verdance. Currently, we've seen, I think Verdance tapered off slightly towards the end of Nat's season, but this is still a pretty strong pick at the moment. What does Verdance's matchups into these top decks look like?
It's got a slightly bad Gravy matchup. I don't think it's that great into Slippy, and I don't think it's that great into Cindra, the particular three decks that are on the board right now. But it does great into most other things.
Right. If you're a mid-range deck and you try to fight with Verdance, she's going to clobber you. So if you're playing anything remotely mid-rangey, trying to play that value game with her, she's a 40 health wizard. That's really the key. She has access to Storm Striders, and she has this.
Striders are kind of broken, huh?
Yeah, Striders are pretty broken.
Striders plus Burn Bear, and you get to play Felling the Crown.
Yeah,
I feel like she's one of the most powerful heroes, just like by herself. But I know a lot of people who have been playing Verdance for their Nats, like, have kind of been getting lower on her, and people aren't really as excited about their Gravy matchup as the Gravies have figured it out. It's not that great in Verdance. Assassin can be a little tricky. You beat a bunch of random decks, but if you're not beating the rest of the high repped, meta decks, it's kind of tough. She is very straightforward with the Bullander Waning Moon type of gameplay. Other than like your potion matchups, it's kind of obvious like what you should be doing in the game. So there is a bit of extra points you could get for playing a deck like that, where you don't get as many, decision fatigue problems as you might playing something else. But
yeah, you're not playing Oscilio or Kano, which are Omega Brain.
Omega Brain.
Yeah,
she's the herder wizard.
Yep, she's the wizard of the people, I guess. So I guess the question is, how much mid range is there going to be for her to pick on? Because, I mean, presumably
Florian fell off completely.
Presumably, like if I say mid range, there are like two decks you think of. You think of Kassai and Florian. Like, how many other mid range?
Does Verdance
like Ira maybe is mid range? Victor is mid range.
Ira, Guardian.
Yeah, Guardian.
I assume does
bullies Guardians. Yeah.
Does she beat up all the warriors?
Yeah, I believe so.
You have to run a pretty aggressive package to deal with Verdance. In my opinion.
I don't know. The Warriors have life gain apparently now.
Yeah, that. Well,
I mean, because I won.
You joke, but
Australian
you can actually mess up. Because if I sit down as Dory against Verdance, and they know I'm on Dawnblade, are they going to bring in their combo potion package? Maybe not. And then if I side in my life gain, they might not even be able to win. If I side in like a little bit of AB and my life gain, maybe you could trick people like that. Well, maybe. Well,
you just gave it away. You can't do it now.
Yeah, I can't do it now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about some warrior secrets on this live video. Anyways, yeah, she's actually pretty good against Kassai as well. You just don't have on hits. You're not fast enough. She has non-attack actions. Fang, again, basically the same thing as Kassai. Bolton, I think, is actually fine against Verdance. You're pretty quick. Now, obviously, the disruption hurts, but I think you're fine in general. And then obviously Dawnblade Dory, depending on how you're built, can be good as well. Anyways, so yeah, she basically could bully most mid-range decks. Not that great against the top decks. Fairly, I wouldn't say straightforward to pilot, but like for Pro Tour players, this shouldn't be complete rocket science. Where do you want to put her?
Somewhere between A and S, and in the medium, I would say. But I don't think it's S anymore with Florian Gods. It's probably around A, medium.
Yeah, probably the block above Cindra.
Okay, so somewhere here in this light blue section.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another deck that if you saw it at Pro Tour, you wouldn't be surprised, and if this top 8'd or won, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a very reasonable deck.
Yep. Okay, so we talked about some reasonable decks. Let's talk about some not completely crap, but let's talk about some decks that.
All right, pick a warrior. We know you want
Warriors.
No.
I was talking about some warriors.
Bring them out. Bring them out.
All right.
Pick your favorite.
I mentioned Kassai. This is my favorite one, according to the Purple Discord. All right, let's talk about Kassai, guys. Kassai Discord, get ready to clip some hotness here. All right, so this is a deck that's been rising over Nat season, and we basically seen this deck kind of coalesce towards the aggressive style of Kassai. I haven't seen very, very many lists that have been doing well that's playing like the super defensive dual wield style. And basically, you're utilizing two cards to... The whole reason to play Kassai over Hatchet Dory or Hatchet Bolton or whatever the other Saber Olympia, whatever you want to call it, is Blood on her hands and Raise an Army. So Raise an Army shifts a lot of matchups that are traditionally not that great, like Florian, like Victor, like Jarl, into decent matchups because there are a lot of decks that cannot deal with a board state. Blood on her hands is also the ultimate punishment for decks that do not want to block or cannot block. There are a lot of decks that their whole deck is basically attack actions. We got decks like Dio, like Katsu, like Cindra. They just cannot block Centauri Sabers effectively. And basically, when you present Spoils of War, you basically get your blood on your hands for free, and then you can execute that. And that single card makes up so much value, especially if you have Vigor tokens or gold ready. So this is a deck that's been, increasing in popularity. Got a lot of help with the Fable. Being able to pitch that once or twice in a game is actually massive, because the decks that you would need to bring that in generally were denying you gold. So being able to just get a gold and then get to convert that into a Centauri Sellsword just makes a massive difference, especially if you're running 3 Raise an Army. Like, you're basically unfatigable. And you really, really shifts those matchups. And yeah, she on paper is good. She's probably the best dual wield warrior at the moment. You could make an argument for hatchets, mainly because of one card, and that card is Cleave. And the Gravy matchup, I've played Kassai against Gravy, and I played Hatchet Dory against Gravy, and they are wildly different because of that one card. Kassai actually has some trouble dealing with certain board states. So does Dorinthia, but she has access to Cleave, which actually shores up that whole matchup. Also, you're more likely to be running 7-power poppers in Dorinthia than in Kassai. The deck lists for Kassai are a little bit more tight on that. So she's actually... She has 2 good matchups, 2 bad matchups, if we're just looking at these 4 that are currently on the board right now. So she's not that great into Verdance, doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the disruption. Again, against Gravy, this is surprisingly much closer than you think, because the Centauri swords are not getting buffed because Gravy's not blocking it. And you don't have access to Cleave, so you have difficulty dealing with those double or triple ally turns. You're pretty good against Cindra, and you're okay against Slippy, depending on how many D-Reacts you have. And yeah, so she's good. She's good. Is she S tier?
Good.
No, she's not S tier. Is she A tier?
No.
I'm gonna say no.
How popular will she be?
How popular will she be? That's actually a very good question. So I think she's actually probably the most popular warrior at the moment. Fang's stock has gone down quite a bit in the last couple weeks. Just having no blocks, having no disruption. Like Fang, we'll talk about Fang later, but I think he's on the downward trend. Bolton, I have a Bolton shirt on. Don't play Bolton at Pro Tour Singapore. And Dorinthia, I think Dorinthia is actually pretty good. So I'm gonna put her. I'm gonna put her here, I think. Now, what do you guys think? Was that
acceptable?
I think that's fair.
Is that fair?
I'll accept that.
I think some people will try to roll the dice with Kassai. Just try not to run into Verdance or Gravy too much. I don't think there's a way you can build the deck to... You're also awful into Oscilio and Kano. Like, I think most Kassais at this point have just said, we're running AB1 and no respect for Wizards, because if we run into Wizards, we just lose. Whereas the other warriors that can actually kind of adjust if there's a wizard heavy meta. And this is something I've said since I've been saying this for like 15 months at this time. Like, Kassai is very bad against wizards. Doesn't matter whether they're earth wizards, lightning wizards, or fire wizards. Like, any wizard's bad.
I don't know. The Kassai won Australian Nats beat, I think, 2 Verdances in top 8.
Okay. Well,
somehow
miracles can happen. Miracles can happen.
You gotta
All right.
believe. You don't believe enough.
I guess I don't believe enough. She this is a hero that's also relatively simple to pilot. I don't think it's going to require too much brain work to pilot this. You might need to know exactly how to use blood on her hands. Got to know when you bring in Raise an Army, when you don't. This is more of like a do you know the game hero rather than how do I pilot this perfectly? Because all the warriors are like that. They need to know what the opponent is doing. All right, so we'll leave Kassai over there. All right, guys, give me a hero that's likely to go in this little quadrant here.
Levia.
All right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Levia, right here.
You think people are going to bring Levia?
I think at least
Less
a
than
couple
1%,
people are
yeah.
going to bring Levia.
So let's just we've seen the Pro Tour slowly increase in player count. London was a little bit over 600. So when we say very low, this means like less than 6 people. So
Yeah,
I could see Levia being in this quadrant. So Damien, you kind of brought this here up. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about Levia?
well, Levia has one of the best armor sets in the entire game. Obviously, you have Carrion Husk, Scab Skins, Scowling Flesh Bag, and
Apex.
I forgot what Apex Bonebreaker. Yeah. So and then you also have powerful cards like Blood Rush Bellows, but you always die to this blood debt thing. You can't get disrupted too much once you start building up blood debt, and assassins are very good at that. And even though you have Mandible Claws, killing allies for gravy is a bit difficult. And your Cindra matchup isn't that great because once you run out of armor, you do just get eaten by like Mask of Momentum sometimes, or something along those lines for other matchups.
Okay.
I also think Verdance just outvalues you a lot of the time.
Yeah, Levia is a mid-range deck, and Verdance, like we discussed earlier, is a deck that does pretty well into mid-range decks. Is this?
She's got to be bad in the gravy, right? Like fighting gravy as Levia, you just have so much to juggle with the allies and maintaining your graveyard and your blood debt.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Doesn't she also need a little bit of like runway to take off? Like she has to stalk the graveyard a little bit, which might be a little difficult against gravy. I'm not exactly sure.
It depends. I mean, gravy players like to attack you for the most part. They don't just make allies and pass. That's usually how they lose sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I guess you could end up blocking Conquerors, but you can't wait too long. You can't just be, like, sitting there, biding your time while filling your graveyard. You can't give him time.
Okay. Is there a reason to play any Brute in this metagame?
I think there's an argument to play KO. I think he's quite good.
If you want to be the first person to register for the Battle Harden.
You mean the colic, but yeah, sure.
Now we're just gonna skip right into Battle Harden.
Draft pod.
I don't know.
I guess if you have less time and effort to prepare than the people bringing Cindra, you could like bring KO, I guess.
I think KO is actually like kind of decent. I agree with Damien on that aspect. He does solid numbies, and he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, but he doesn't have any glaring strengths either. But Levi doesn't really fit that role because there's too many things that have to be balanced. You don't have a target. The meta is kind of shifting right now, and we don't know how much of it Gravy's going to hold versus we're going to kind of adapt in a different direction. So Levi is having a hard time kind of targeting a very, very specific thing. So just too much in the air for a high variable hero.
Okay. I put her in the C tier, less than 1%. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess we're on the section now where we're just going to go popcorn and
just load them up. Yeah, Teklovossen, Betsy, Olympia, just keep Bravo.
I think you just go ahead and put them all down there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
Let's fill
load
up that
box
dark
up.
brown.
we
Fill up the
Let's
poop,
load
we
that
poop
wanna-
box
square.
up.
we're basically making a diagonal line here. We're playing bingo here. All right, let's. I guess we could go in order here. All right, Arakni Huntsman.
Bottom left, next.
Let's talk about him for at least 20 seconds.
He has
Okay.
Codex in his deck,
Yep,
but
you got Codex.
the rest
yep.
of his cards say Contract, which is a mechanic they don't care about anymore.
That's
so-
not true. Leave No Witnesses is a good card.
Okay.
He's got 6 good cards.
That's true.
This is
That's
the
true.
only mill
Not enough.
deck in the game that's like actively trying to fatigue you. Maybe you have Fatigue Bravo, maybe you have DGA Warrior, and this is the other like fatigue deck.
I mean, you say he's a mill deck, but like his hero power doesn't actually mill
Yeah.
you, and his equipment
Right.
doesn't.
He's a deck that pitch decks your opponent's deck. He's not a mill deck. I think decks that play like Double Trouble or mill decks.
Okay.
Like you could play Double Trouble in Huntsman, I guess.
Sure. All right.
Try and, like, triple buff and
We're gonna have
eradicate
to
or
wait
something,
for
I don't know.
another coercive tendency, and
Yeah, because that solved all his
I really hope
problems.
that's not the next card we get.
or we're gonna need. Okay, hear me out. Which heroes are royal?
Doesn't matter.
There's two
I
other
mean,
retins you can play.
if Slippy and Mario don't play Regicide, then Huntsman isn't going to get away with doing it either.
Okay. All right. Fine. All right. Well, we did say the D tier over here was going to be Betsy, Olympia, and his buddies. So let's talk about Olympia. This is the hero that is not complete. I'm still waiting for Classic Battles, Betsy versus Olympia. I have not gotten any emails in my inbox regarding that. If you're going to build him, I think the only current way to build him is a DGA version. And if you're playing DGA into these decks, that's not good. It's not good into this deck. I think a dedicated DGA warrior probably fatigues Slippy pretty easily. The thing is, if you ever present Olympia against Slippy, like they're gonna slide in 72 cards. So yeah.
Don't give people bad ideas.
I don't even think you have a good Slippy matchup. I just think it's bad.
Bro, Brian Gottlieb literally stopped by my last stream and literally said that he wished Betsy and Olympia were not CC
heroes.
heroes.
Oh man,
Don't worry, Super
Betsy.
Slam's
all
gonna
you
fix
need to
them.
know.
I love him to death. All right.
All right, Josh. The real question is, if Betsy and Olympia were in Super Slam, would they be reviled or revered?
Oh, they're both they're revered. They're beloved heroes.
They're both good guys.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, I think
Olympia's the champion of the people.
Yeah. Olympia is.
I don't know.
Yeah, he'll beat
Betsy
you up
seems
with a
kind of
firm.
arrogant, you know.
Okay, fair.
But she has
She's
that
a
like
guardian
endearing
too. Yeah,
she has that endearing kind of arrogance, you know.
Yeah. That's true. All right, who else wants to join this corner here?
Betsy.
Bravo.
Okay, where is Betsy? Right here. All right, here's Betsy. All right.
Yep. Crack, shuffle, and play something else.
Yep. It turns out in the past, just having Guardian on your hero card was actually good enough because the Guardian hero pool was good enough. Unfortunately, Guardian's not in a very good spot, and Betsy having Drink him under the table has not helped her enough. She's a good helmet. She's fun to play. Not a complete hero. And she'll join.
Hey, they're getting
the
like
Guardian Master Pack.
They're getting
That's
like
true.
150 to 200 dedicated cards, so maybe something changes.
We'll revisit this hero, maybe.
Yeah, if they're gonna print more Betsy
see.
specializations, that'll be the place for it.
Oh,
also,
if a Guardian
legendaries.
gets good, it ain't her. It's not her.
Unless the
A wager would have
specializations.
to get good.
Wager would
They're
have
gonna
to
print
get
Betsy specs. They're gonna print Betsy specs like they printed Bolton equipment.
good.
Yeah, look
They're just
at
gonna keep making them every
Look
single.
Yeah,
where
look at
he's
him.
at.
Fair.
NIMBY, the best Bolton card in a while.
All right. Okay.
Teklovossen.
Teklovossen.
Next.
This hero is I've heard several times over the last year that this is like 4 cards away from being broken. And this is a hero we don't want to be broken, because if Teklovossen was good, the meta would look like crap. They're obviously aggro decks suppressing him. The Verdance is very good into him. Board-based decks are good into him. Also, if you play this at a tournament, you're like 10 times more likely to go to time, because your opponent's going to have to read every one of your Evos. And then they'll even have to pick up your stack of Evos and like, what's everything here? Don't do it. Maybe
4 more
I'll
cards.
do it.
Maybe 4 of the 31 expansion slot cards will be dedicated to giving him a new Evo set. We'll see. Okay, I've had enough of Olympia, Betsy, and their friends. Let's talk about a good hero. And we'll kind
Maxx?
of
Define good.
let's go in order. We'll let Aaron pick a hero, then we'll let Nathan pick a hero, then we'll let Damien pick a hero. All right, Aaron, pick a hero.
Pick a good hero or pick any hero?
Pick any hero you want to talk about that doesn't go in the corner here.
All right, let's talk about Oscilio, because I think we have some Oscilio fans in the chat.
Oh,
They keep screaming Oscilio. So
Oscilio?
Okay. Okay, so this is the hero that got
Oscilio?
solved. So when we joked about, if they just print one more coercive tendency, if they print one more Betsy spec, if they print something for Olympia, he'll get better. This is a hero that actually just got a yellow 0-cost shock, and that was enough to make this hero good. Because they can
like 0-cost shock was the one thing that like everyone said like, oh, if Oscilio ever got, he'd be insane, and I didn't think they would actually do it, but then they did it.
And it's kind of crazy.
It's pretty good.
It's a really crazy card.
I remember picking up that card, and like the guy I was playing against an Oscilio IRL, he's like, you don't need to read the left side. I'm like, okay. Okay.
I actually think it would have been cooler if they just printed shock as like a card and like have it be the full art, like facing the other way.
Oh.
The left side's actually detrimental to cast, because if you cast the left side, it can get arcane complianced.
Oh no. Okay, so this is a hero that is kind of the classic dark horse. It's targeting it has a very, very clear defined plan. It wants to loop or play Gone in a Flash like 9 times. It wants to amp to 16 and then kill you from like 12 with no matter how much AB you have, you're going to die. So a lot of heroes are just forced to race or disrupt him. If you cannot race or you cannot disrupt him, Oscilio probably can get there. He digs through his deck very, very quickly. Obviously, he needs to see certain cards relatively quickly. Like I mentioned, Gone in a Flash, Sigil of Brilliance, his spec, also extremely important to see in a timely manner. Also, executing the whole combo and knowing like when to go off may be kind of difficult. This is a hero that's not that easy to pilot. How's his matchup spread in this meta? Because this is a hero that was decently represented in week 3 and 4 of Nats.
So he's got a good Gravy matchup, but a good Verdance matchup, and he, obviously in the aggro, you just hit it or you die. You know, it's how Wizards are. You start at 36, you play no blocks. But he's actually a kind of a mid-range deck with how he plays value until he sees his combo with like his Sigils and his Gone in a Flashes. So I think he's got a really good matchup spread.
Yep.
I think the only thing you actively don't want to see is Slippy. That matchup's kind of scuffed just because he's got the pressure and the disruption. Also, I'm not sure how Prism works out.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the Herald's coming in kind of hot can be a little scary.
Bad matchup for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, though, like your spread's fine. Dio might give you some trouble just because she can push back and has decently low opportunity cost AB. So overall solid spread though.
Yeah, the 2 heroes that have just let them on hit you left and right Prism and Dory. Like those are not good matchups for you. But overall, seems like he's in a good spot. Not that inconsistent as well. I think most of the games you're going to get to execute your combo. Although you do have a ton of no blocks, but you probably can extend long enough to see at least one Gone in a Flash. Okay, where do we want to put him?
I think it's like very good in the low or very good in the very low. He's very hard to play. I don't see a lot of people bringing this hero, but he's very good.
I'd give him regular low. Probably put him in the green. I think some people could do it. But you're right. It's not going to be a lot.
Yeah. Okay. This is one of those heroes where you sit down and they show you a Sigil of Brilliance playmat, and then they show you a Marvel Oscilio, and and you're like, uh-oh. I ran into a wizard specialist. Oh, great. All right. Okay. Nathan, pick a hero.
Let's go Victor.
All right. Well, Ed is not here, but I'm sure we can sufficiently talk about Guardians. All right. So this is the hero that was very good in heavy hitters. In terms of recent upgrades, he got the new Fabled, obviously. Pitch that, draw a card, pretty good. The downside is that he is a Guardian, and they are currently not well positioned. This is a deck that beats up on some aggro decks like Cindra. This was a deck also that was held back by new, so maybe we're seeing, Fabled printed plus new leaving. Those are good things for him. However, this is not a good meta for Guardians. This is he's not great into the Wizards. I think he can't deal with the board state that well. That's a traditional weakness of Guardians. He doesn't run D-Reacts because you need to run a density of block cards. So that makes decks like Slippy also difficult. Any other thoughts on Victor?
I think if you are a very skilled Victor player, you actually have a slightly favored Slippy matchup, or at least an even one. You could definitely tech for Gravy. It just depends on how much you want to tech for Gravy, because you don't want to ruin your deck, but you can definitely make the matchup playable. I don't think you could ever make it too favored unless you destroy your deck. And obviously, it can't beat Verdance most of the time. It's a very bad matchup.
Okay.
I just think he's kind of mid overall.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you're going to be clashing with is side event vouchers. But I mean, it's just kind of. You have some but we're talking about Cindra going down, and that's the number one thing you would target, right? So if we're right in that regard, then theoretically Victor should just be out to lunch and not a great pick. However, if we're wrong and Cindra is tied for the most played deck, well, very quickly it becomes a very reasonable pick. So it really, if you bring this to Pro Tour Singapore, then you're literally just banking on the number of just ninja in general really showing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you're probably teching your deck towards, Crush the Weak. Obviously, you're going to include Spinal Crush, but yeah. Okay, sounds like Victor is earning a spot somewhere over here. Or maybe even next to Kassai.
Yeah, I would say next to Kassai.
Yeah, I think it's right next to Kassai.
Okay. All right, the heavy hitters duo can make their way over there then. All right, Damien, pick a hero.
We're going to pick Dash IO.
Ooh, Dio. All right, so this is the other aggro deck in the format, if we consider the three aggro decks being Slippy, Cindra, and Dio. Fairly difficult deck to pilot, especially at a high level. There's really no room for errors with this deck. This deck did get a decent number of upgrades from the last set. Traditionally, this is a deck that could be fatigued. However, that is way less likely now due to the workshop card. This is a deck that has that explosive power, still has it has a very strong hero ability, has a pretty decent card pool, has access to Cerebellum Processor. Obviously, losing High Octane was massive, but this is a deck that, even through that ban, has found its way into the top tables. Certain people like Alan Lau still really believe in this hero. Where do we want to put Dash, and what is she like right now?
I think Dash's worst matchup is the 4 cards you draw from the top of the deck, because it just depends on how many items in her hand. I don't think she has any particularly bad matchups. She's a very volatile aggro deck. If you draw very well with Dash IO, there's not a deck in the game she can't beat. But she's just super volatile. But I think she's very good. She's borders between A and S tier.
Okay.
This is the deck that I would be playing if I was going, and I think she's really, really good.
Is this a deck that actively is searching for a medium to long game, or is this, or is it just kind of based on the matchup, or?
It depends on the matchup. Some matchups you might set up items a little bit and then do 40 damage, and then some matchups you just start activating hard every turn because it's like a Cindra matchup and you just need to kill them really fast.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we talked about the other aggro decks being Slippy and Cindra. This is the hardest of the 3 to pilot. So this feels like, even though, traditionally at Pro Tour, you don't know what to play, you just play the best aggro deck. There's not a clear-cut best aggro deck in this format, and this is the hard aggro deck to pilot. So what type of meta share are we thinking for Dio?
Medium?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are pretty high on this deck. Well, a fair amount at least. It's very strong. It does some very powerful stuff.
Okay. Are there any other cards from High Seas that I missed out in terms of upgrades for the deck?
Well, it's just Cog in the Machine. Some people don't even play Cog in the Machine, but your opponent now has to sit across from you and guess whether or not you play it. And if they decide to try and fatigue you, and you're on Cog in the Machine package, they could just get rolled by it.
Right.
So.
All right. Is she going next to Verdance or above Verdance?
I would say above, but I'm biased. So
yeah, I do think it's above. I don't know if I could ever put her in S tier with how volatile the deck draws, but
I feel like with Slippy being in the position we put him in too, that's also a little bit
fair.
of an issue, because Slippy just kind of races, or he plays the race game against you. But if he draws his disruptive attacks, he could just not give you the space, even if you do draw reasonably good hands.
Okay. Okay. I guess the tiebreaker here is going to be what's her gravy matchup like?
Very
fine.
good.
Yeah. I mean, boom grenades. You draw no blocks, you just die.
Okay.
I mean, you have plenty of you have plenty of tools to evade certain types of damage. Like you have Chum, which could just eat a bunch of boost attacks, or you've got flexors, which turn no blocks into blocking cards, but you still have to contest with all this damage and boom grenades and maximum velocity. You're not really presenting too much disruption apart from Conqueror and Loot the Hold, so you're letting them do whatever they want with their hands.
Yeah, and Dio
Chum and Anka are the only ones you care about.
Yeah, and Dio is a deck that does run Crown of Providence, so the first Conqueror doesn't do anything. All right, I think we'll just put here next to Verdance for now. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's my turn to pick. Let's talk about the hero that I learned 2 weeks ago. Let's talk about Phi. I feel like I'm 60% more qualified to talk about this hero now that I've actually played some games with him in CC. Okay, so Phi, the classic aggro deck, the other Draconic Ninja. More stable, I would say, than Cindra, because you're not super reliant on your daggers. you just need a good Mopple turn, and you're kind of off to the races. Pretty guaranteed damage. Fairly resistant against a little bit of disruption because you lose a card from your hand. It doesn't really matter. This is a ninja, so he can flex into Mask of Momentum for the Gravy matchup. Has enough speed to deal with some of these wizards that we're putting up here. Has quite a bit of armor, although he doesn't really want to use it. So I think the main thing is that it's just his card quality is a little bit too fair now that they removed Art of War and all those things from his deck. Yeah.
I don't think anyone has kind of found a reason to play him over Cindra right now if you want to play the Draconic Ninja thing. He's a bit weaker to some of the graveyard hate that people are playing, like Pirates playing Sunken Treasure is a bit more annoying for Fi to deal with because losing your Phoenix Flame is really, really bad.
Everbloom Life can put it on the bottom of your deck.
Yeah, and if you don't have a blue or you only have that one blue and you needed it for your sword, it just like really stunts your turn and you kind of just, I don't know, again, slightly worse version of Cindra, which is already kind of like a mid hero, so I don't really see anyone bringing him. I don't think he attacks anything that you couldn't just be playing Cindra in, so I'd probably put him at like 0C.
0C, all right. Yeah, he wasn't very well represented at all during Nats because Cindra exists. So, okay. Any other thoughts on Fi, or are we happy putting him over there?
Nope, good.
All right. Back to you, Aaron. Pick a hero. Okay, hold on. Actually, let's interact with chat a little bit. Chat, what do you want to see?
All right, chat, pick some heroes.
Pick
What's your
us a
favorite
good
hero?
one.
There's about a 15-second delay. We're also going to post this video.
We can do one real quick while we're waiting.
Yeah. We're also going to post this video on YouTube as well. If you guys... I know there's a lot of people that watch the VODs or watch the video, but this is the first time that we're doing something kind of live. It'd be cool to see you guys here for our next tier list, probably for Worlds.
Oh, we got some Jarls.
Jarl. All right. Let's talk about the hero that is not Oldhim. And Ed always complains that, damn, this is not Oldhim. I'm like, yeah, it's not Oldhim. That's the point. All right, so Jarl.
Not Oldhim.
Definitely not Oldhim. Definitely does not have Crown of Seeds as well. All right, so Jarl, this is a hero that can be built in quite a few ways. And this is the kind of disruptive, kind of tries to break your armor, kind of tries to play good cards deck. Has access to disruptive effects that are traditionally pretty good against the aggro decks. You got Stalagmite, you have Blizzard, you have some decent armor. Obviously very, very bad at dealing with board-based decks. You don't put on enough pressure to deal with Verdance either. In theory, you're probably decent against Slippy, right? Because you're a Guardian that plays a decent amount of D-Reacts. Where do you guys want to put Jarl?
I think most of the matchups where like Guardian is good, Victor's a little bit better at it. And I don't really think Jarl has any matchups that are hard for Victor that he's targeting better. Like a lot of people, when High Seas first came out, they were like, "Oh, Jarl can blow up Compass and then fatigue the Gravy." Turns out, it takes a lot of work for Jarl to blow up Compass, and if you don't do it immediately, you're probably still going to lose the game. And sometimes even if you do, if the Gravy plays well enough with late game pitch stacks and rum plays, then they could still beat you anyways. So I don't think that Jarl is targeting enough in the meta, and I think that most of the time you should probably just bring Victor if you're dead set on playing a Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless I'm missing a matchup.
I mean, yeah, it's just too difficult to blow up armor nowadays with Jarl. He's
Yep.
it's just like you just rather play picture.
Okay. Yeah. Frostbites are very annoying, but maybe the juice is not quite worth the squeeze. Kind of sounding like you guys
next
are
to Levia?
wanting to put him somewhere here. Yeah, maybe Levia. All right, we'll put Mr. Jarl over there then. All right, back to you, Aaron. Pick a hero.
Let's try and find another good hero. Let's go ahead and talk about Katsu. I think Katsu is the real like secret sauce for this tournament.
Yes, Katsu got, it's officially called the Ira Armory deck, but another name for it could be
They didn't put Ira specialization on any of the cards.
this.
That means it's Katsu.
This could be the Katsu Armory deck. I know that Taylor's been in the lab with this deck. I don't know much about the Vengeance style Katsu. Can you guys talk to me a little bit about this deck?
So it's very similar to what Katsu has been doing. You're primarily doing your bonds lines, retrace the past, surging, descendant gustwave stuff. What the Ira Armory deck gave you was a strong secondary combo line, which you were kind of missing otherwise. Most of the time on your other off turns or supplementary tutors that you were doing with Katsu were just like, the underwhelming Gustwave card, Gustwave the Second Wind or whatever it's called, Fluster Fist stuff, like Spinning Wheel Kick, like just 100 Winds, really just kind of mundane things. But the Vengeance cards are actually kind of good filler space for Katsu to be mixing in with the bonds. Retrace the Past, being able to name Edge of Autumn could open up some extra possible combo lines to incorporate those cards into wider chains. And the gloves themselves are very, very powerful for Katsu because we all know how strong breaking scales is as a threat in a deck like Katsu where hitting is so important. And having this like kind of repeatable breaking scales
3
effect
breaking scales
is very, very annoying, especially later in the game when your health total starts to get low.
It's good to note that it's better than breaking scales because it doesn't say card with combo on it.
Yeah,
so you could do it be like water.
Be like water, surging strike, like
Surging,
any attack they
that's
throw at you. It's very threatening. And like Katsu, so comparing it to like Ira, right? When Ira's doing a similar thing, Ira really needs her weapon to play the game. So using your arms to banish your Edge of Autumn could be very devastating if you just haphazardly use it and it gets blocked out by reactive damage, or you don't use it on a vengeance attack and you just don't have your sword. Whereas Katsu, he still wants his weapon to continue doing the vengeance stuff and the arms, but he has a lot more freedom to kind of go without it for a bit because kind of like before when he was just using Kadachis to kind of fill in mana resource stuff when he's pitching. A lot of the times Katsu is just trying to go pitchless, play all of my hand attack actions and just kill you. So even if he gets a really solid breaking scales effect, even if it costs him his sword, he doesn't really care that he lost it. He doesn't need it to win.
Aaron, I like how you were very specific with your wording. You said sword. I think I saw a tweet from Shoma saying that he was like, wait a second, Edge of Autumn's a sword and not a dagger. Wait, all these dagger
he's
cards
got like
don't
pain
work.
in the backside and cut through in his hand. It's like, wait, that is the one downside.
Yeah. Well,
they printed a lot of dagger support recently.
Now you know how the Warriors feel with the silent card pool. All right, so
why can't this good card work on the weapon I want to play?
Yeah. All right, so this sounds like a hero that could be really good at this tournament, and this is a hero that's, because this hero is so complex. This isn't, and we've known about the Ira Armory deck for a moderate amount of time, but I did hear that there are some like issues getting the deck, and you obviously have to get reps in with this deck. I don't think this is going to be widely represented, but this might be one of the breakout performers for this tournament. Maybe somewhere.
No, there might be some people who adopt it because they realize that it's probably good. I think most of the people who are big Katsu players who played it back, in the Art of War days or when Bonds was first unbanned, they gave it a whirl. They're probably going to revisit it, and then this might be enough to push it over the top to where they would actually bring it to a big event. I don't think it's going to be like widespread adopted, but I think it's I think it's really good. No, I think the power level's like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
say I think
A.
he's actually S tier
Yeah.
to be honest, but if you want
Oh,
to be
yeah.
reserved, you can put him in A. But like, I think he's kind of crazy.
His lines are just so nuts.
Yeah.
He does so much damage.
I think he's really good. I don't know if I'd put him in S for Singapore. I'd probably drop him to A, but for Kansas City, I think that's his tournament to kind of break out and really take a foothold in the meta for sure.
Like, what are you gonna do if Katsu throws a card at you? Just gonna keep overblocking by 1 on their starter every turn?
Oh, you can. You just have to let him do
Like,
it.
you just let them do it. You just take 35. When they decide to pop all their armor, it's like,
Okay. Well,
It's becoming really tough to play against Katsu
yep.
because you have to kind of block everything, but that's not a feasible strategy. So it's tough.
Yep. Playing around the breaking scales basically means you have to have a shelter at all times. All right. Okay, so we'll put Katsu here, although could go up over time, especially as people kind of realize that. Is his matchup spread good enough? We've been mostly talking about his raw strength, saying, okay, he's got a great hero ability, ridiculous damage output, insane upgrades from the Ira Armory deck, but how does he kind of slot in this meta?
I think he's really good against Gravy because he's a ninja. He's really good against other aggro decks because if they
don't want to block,
if he's not disrupted and they don't block, he's just going to deal 30 to you. I think he's pretty good against Verdance because she doesn't have a million armor and she can't do her thing fast enough before Katsu kills her.
Yep.
So it's really just like assassins rolling hot on disruption could be kind of tough. Victor, historically has been one of Katsu's tough matchups. If he clashes well and is able to block out at the right time, throw the spinals, crush the weaks, whatever disruption he has, that matchup can be kind of tough. But we already said Victor's kind of weak, so
okay.
I don't know. I think he's just kind of good against everything.
Sure.
For the most part.
Okay. All right. We're going to put him right there next to Oscilio. Both. I guess this is basically our dark horse area, right? This quadrant here. All right.
Yeah.
Nathan, pick a hero.
Let's go Florian.
All right. This is the king of the old meta. He got several cards banned. He also got a whole weapon banned. He got a new card in the last set. A lot of people qualified for Pro Tour Singapore on Florian because during that ProQuest season he was the deck to play. The current meta game, though, is moderately hostile to him. Obviously, Verdance or Oscilio, not very good for him. Board-based decks, I don't think that's amazing for him either. This is a deck that can produce a lot of value, but definitely has some weaknesses. Where do we want to put him? Because this is a hero that I'm a little bit uncertain in terms of the meta share and the strength at the moment.
well,
I think he
he's gotta-
sucks. I'm actually kind of curious like how many people are going to stubbornly
Yeah.
play him anyways.
he's really bad. His only good matchup is like Slippy.
Yeah.
And like I can't think of too many more reasons to play him.
Which I guess that automatically gets him to at least B. He could sneak into A, but I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what purpose you're trying to serve. At least, like, if you're gonna bring that, I'd rather bring like dual wielding warrior and at least be good into Cindra too.
So you're pretty good against Slippy, which is nice. But Cindra's a bad matchup now after Clav and Sarakai, which is
Right.
not great for his meta position and one of the main reasons why he fell off. And your Gravy matchup's abysmal, so and your Verdance matchup is very annoying to play and not very good.
Okay.
So I think he's kind of bad.
All right.
Next to Victor.
It's either here or here.
Do we think he's?
Oh, I don't think. I feel
I don't
like
think he.
people are.
No, he's got to be
I-
worse.
I feel like people are still gonna play him though. You know?
Oh shit.
Maybe medium
Are we gonna put him
C?
down here?
Nah.
Medium C?
Medium.
What?
I mean, surely he's
Yeah.
worse than Cindra and Kassai, right?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. He's
100%.
yeah.
Florian C tier.
Damn. This whole time, Sam
Yeah.
was right.
C tier, medium. Yeah, this looks right. Unless like the whole
This
room
is
changes.
if you're listening to this, this is basically the card guys telling you that you should not play Florian. And that is not because I'm a biased Dory player and I don't want to see my worst matchup in the game. Really, don't play Florian.
But we're
that's,
gonna say that 4% of people at the Pro Tour are gonna bring a bad deck.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
It happens all the time, man.
it does happen all the time.
There's always one
Dang.
deck. There's always one deck.
Dang.
I mean, you just look
I
at the meta
guess.
position. It's like you're bad into like. Other than
Oh, I agree with the
Slippy.
C tier. I
I
agree
mean,
with it being C tier. I'm
he
just
could
saying.
Be low. He could be low. I don't know.
Why would 4% of the meta be
3.1%, Nathan. 3.1.
Sure. Okay.
Just 20
okay.
people. 20 people. 20 people bring Florian. Could totally see it.
Sure.
This is also, remember, a lot of people qualified for this tournament on this hero, so they have an emotional attachment to it. Maybe even a financial attachment to it. Okay. Damien, pick a hero.
Let's talk about one of the more annoying heroes, Kano.
I thought you were going to say Riptide, but okay.
I was thinking about it.
All right, so Kano. This is a deck that had a decent representation in Nats season, and I believe the second best win rate at Nats, partly because people have started to... It's that whole Kano cycle of you respect him, he goes away, you disrespect him, and then you disrespect him, you lose, and then you start respecting him. So I think we're currently in a position where people are disrespecting him, which makes me lean towards him being actually a decent choice at the moment. This is a deck all in on amping Wildfire to 8 and then praying you don't have Arcane Compliance and then, flipping into Open the Floodgates 7 times and then blazing Aether for like 43 or 50 or 60 and then you die. Nothing has really changed since we last saw Kano, other than Arcane Compliance being printed. Even cards like Burn Bear, I don't even think really make his deck. Yeah. What do we think about Kano? And do you guys agree that we're currently in a disrespect Kano meta?
I think that most people disrespect him apart from assassins who just conveniently have like the armor set to counter Kano.
Yeah, AB and SV stapled together, I heard, is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't see how this guy is ever bad when he can just kill you out of nowhere.
Is his gravy matchup good? I don't even know.
It depends on how fast they put these sawbones into play.
Yep,
So
damage
just have like,
prevention.
if I find sawbones within 3 turns, I win. If not, I'm exploded.
It's a lot more complicated than that, but you could put it like that.
Okay.
Gravy
Yeah.
has a
I
ton
just
of
think
blues,
High
at least.
Seas. I think High Seas was like the worst thing to ever happen to Kano, and it wasn't Arcane Compliance. It was just gravy coming into the meta, removing all the dirtle out of the meta, which was kind of Kano's free matchups. Because everything else that's left in the meta kind of puts you on a clock, with the exception of Verdance. And Verdance, in my opinion, is not even that great of a matchup in the first place. So, Slippy has AB, Spell Void, Aggression, Oscilio can blow you up, although you're probably fine into Oscilio. I don't know. Katsu's going to put a clock on you, so is Dio. And Dio, any mech generally has had a pretty good Kano matchup due to low cost AB and Gravy, as we mentioned. So I think people will bring it. I don't think it's an amazing pick. I'd probably go upper B, lower A.
I would say it's A tier just because of how, like, Kindle, you draw the Kindle in the right hand. It doesn't matter how much AB or how much respect you have for this hero, he'll just kill you.
Well, Blazing for Lethal in the chat says he's A tier and he has a fine gravy matchup. And if there's anyone I believe about Kano, I'm going to believe that guy. So I think he's A tier.
He
right.
do play a lot of Kano.
All right. Are we putting him in this tier here, or are we moving him over
Yeah.
to the?
I think
Yeah,
it's
that's my
A. It's probably very low or low. I would say low. I think 1 to 3% actually.
Okay. Yeah, in the Pro Tour traditionally, there has always been some people that they just play Kano because they love Kano. All right, let's have chat pick the next hero. Chat, pick a hero. I believe we're currently about halfway done. There were 35 heroes. Now there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16.
Is there any other? Let's
17.
rapid fire some more like garbage ones for a second. Let's get Maxx down to D tier.
All right.
Max,
So-
Bravo, Valda.
All right.
We should put Valdo down there.
So
Yeah,
Maxx
Valdo's
got
not a deck yet.
Maxx got an armory deck that focused on wrenches. That wasn't enough,
Did he?
guys?
Wrenches are bad.
That's
Wrenches
crazy.
are bad.
I mean, it's 3 power.
You're bringing a wrench to a compass fight. You're going to lose.
Okay. Obviously, losing high octane very, very bad for this hero. There's still this is the mech version of Bolton. Like, he's just there's something fundamentally wrong about this hero, and they're going to try very, very hard because unlike Betsy and Olympia, they actually believe that Maxx is a real hero. So they're going to try to fix him. I don't foresee how they're going to be able to fix him, though. Maybe the thing is that we've already had a Dio Armory deck. We had a Maxx Armory deck. Like, maybe the Puffin Armory deck is what saves him. I don't know. All right, he gets to join Olympia Betsy in the corner here.
All right, chat wants Fang, then Prism, and that looks like Mario.
Right. Okay, so sure, that'll work. All right, so Fang, this is the hero that, on paper, you look at him, you look at his hero ability, you're like, oh my god, that's ridiculous, and then he gets to play with 5 intellect. He has evasive damage, consistent damage. Can block. Has dynamos, has everything that on paper says, okay, you're pretty good. However, none of this really pans out, unfortunately. Because you don't have disruption, these combo decks basically just blow you up. You have the damage output of an aggro deck, but you have a requirement to do that damage output, which is get 3 fealty, which, even if your deck is constructed correctly, can take 6 turns. Sometimes you just don't draw well. And there's some games that are like unlosable, there's some games that are unwinnable for Fang. And that's a ton of variance. And if we look at the other dual wield warriors, I don't think there's really a reason to play Fang over Kassai, especially with the new Fabled and just the positioning of Centauri Sabers into this meta. Also, Hatchet Dory just does what you're doing, but blocks better, has more damage output, has access to blues and yellows, has access to CNC, has access to, like, Dawnblade, for God's sake. Like, you sit down, they don't know what you're going to flip over. Yeah, I don't know. There's really no reason for this.
In my personal experience, I was playing Fang for a little bit for fun because he's kind of cool. He's fun to play.
Yep.
And I saw some sparks here and there. I was like, man, if you get online quickly, your value's just crazy. Sometimes you can just outmaneuver some of these decks, trying to disrupt you with a race face. Like, it's kind of cool. And then I played a couple games into Verdance and Oscilio, and they just kept killing my fealty every turn, and I didn't play Fang anymore.
Yes, you get hated on by random things. Yeah,
It's
Scour.
Scour.
Yeah, Scour is very mean.
Scour. The Oscilio played like Blast to Oblivion and like bounced one of my fealties, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
God, nah.
Yep. Yeah, so currently there's not really a reason to run Fang. I've thrown out to my teammates that maybe you play DGA Fang, but that's probably coping a lot.
No.
That's not even a Fang deck. It's like the axe is the hero at that point.
Yeah,
It's just
the
what
axe is the
flavor
hero.
you want.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna put him. Oh boy.
Next to Jarl.
Yeah.
Next to 5.
No, some people are gonna break him.
Somebody will bring him.
There are 3 warrior decks that see some play at some level. It's Dory, Kassai, and Fang. Yeah, he's gonna go hang out here with the hero that he hates probably the most. Okay. All right. What else did chat want to see? They wanted to see Prism.
Prism. Yeah.
Good old Prism.
Yes.
All right. One of the hardest decks to pilot. A deck that has consistently seen some representation because waifu lovers be waifuing, and has a lot of on-hits, has a switchboard. I'm guessing that this deck is pretty good against most aggro decks. Pretty decent against the wizards as well, especially Kano. I don't know anything about Prism Gravy. I've heard it's an 80-80 matchup.
Yeah.
You guys know a lot more about Prism. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I don't even think the Prism Verdance matchup's that great.
It's
I think
not.
Verdance is actually slightly favored, if I'm not mistaken. You just have to get out of your mindset on a couple things and not use Storm Striders to win the game, but rather than, well, you still win with them, but not bringing their life to 0 and maybe blowing up an angel that's attacking or something like that. You just got to get a little creative with it.
I think.
But yeah, I think the matchup spread's okay. The Gravy matchup's not what we thought it was. You're bad into Dio. Sure, you're going to beat up the 4 Kanos in the room, and there's not going to be that many people in Katsu. So I think from a power level, the hero's fine. It's actually above fine. It's really good. But a lot more than before. You're going to have to work for it.
This is a hero that I don't think we've ever seen its representation like below 2%. And this is a hero that has powerful cards, is moderately well positioned. I think we're probably going to put Prism somewhere around here, but I'm not exactly sure on her position.
I think there are too many things that could go wrong in the current meta. For her, I think she's B.
I mean, with Blanche being so good in the Gravy, like you get hit by that.
You are the
I don't know if
subject
she's
of.
B bad. I'd put some respect.
I
on her
don't
name,
know.
but
She gets hit by a lot of collateral nowadays.
I do agree. I'd put her like probably like the weakest A, something like that. I'm not,
Like the Warriors are prepared for, Kassai's and Dories are playing Blanches and Poppers and stuff. You're not good into Dio, like you said. If Slippy has enough D-reacts, or maybe they sideboard any number of Poppers, that matchup can be a little tough. Really good into Kano, obviously. Verdance, if she has a bunch of Poppers, she plays Summer's Fall. You're good into Cindra, but we're not super high on Cindra. Victor is not completely gone from the meta. He's hanging around that matchup. If your deck is more Herald focused, it could be kind of tough to pilot at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's very strong though. I don't know.
I'd put her in A.
I think I would rather put her in A than B, but
yeah, we'll put her at the bottom of A. That's fine.
Okay, somewhere around here or here.
Probably next to Dio.
Yeah, there are too many people that love to play Prism. It doesn't matter what kind of Prism. It's just people love this hero.
Okay. This is also a hero that benefits greatly from being a specialist. Because every matchup is unique. You need to know your Vestige matchups. You need to know your Rapture matchups. Yeah, this is yeah. All right. Did chat mention a third hero?
Someone said Arakni Marionette. I saw.
All right.
a
So
while back.
I was going to say the other assassin, but we still have Azuri to talk about. All right. So Mario, the
Rip.
complex, finesse-based assassin that, also running 45 Majestics, gets access to a lot of strong tools, mainly dagger-focused. Benefits a little bit from Slippy being in the meta and possibly the best deck in the format. Obviously, you might even adjust how you build your deck slightly, because if you think you're going to get go again in 1 out of 8 matchups, 1 out of 9 matchups, you might tweak your deck. What's his matchup spread like, and where do we see him going?
I think one of the main reasons why he hasn't been as popular as Slippy has been is, well, one, he's quite a bit more complicated to play, which I think is, gives you a lot of opportunities to make mistakes and lower your overall value in playing the hero compared to Slippy. I also think your matchup into Gravy Bones is a bit worse since you don't have the natural go again. You kind of have to rely on Snapdragon scalers on like a really important clear turn, or you have to sideboard in some natural go again attack actions because the dagger focused Mario builds, which are kind of the primary way to play him right now, aren't as good at killing allies as the go against stealth attacks and Slippy because just the breakpoint numbers with daggers, dagger pumps, and dagger reactions don't cleanly and efficiently kill allies the way you want to. And the Chalicera doesn't have go again when you attack allies, which is very annoying for Mario sometimes. But it's not a doomed matchup because, again, you do have a decent balance of clearing and threatening face, and if you play it well, you can still win a pretty good number of times. But you definitely would rather be Slippy, but it's not totally doomed. But you do get a bit of a bump in some other matchups because your general damage output will be a little bit higher than Slippy. You'll have a lot more raw number value with the daggers and the +1 from Arakni and some of the cool things you can do with the agents, but you'll have less disruption overall because you aren't playing as many of the stealth attacks that Slippy is. I'm personally very high on him as a hero, maybe more than some other people are, but I don't really think that Slippy is much stronger of a deck than Mario is. I just think Slippy has a different reason to be playing him, which is more attractive for players right now. But I would feel really good about playing Mario in this meta as well because I think you're fine enough into Gravy. You're good into Slippy. I think you're pretty good into Verdance and some of the other aggro decks. You kind of have enough disruption to get there. I don't think he'll be as widely represented, though, for sure, as like Slippy is. But I think he's good.
I mean, your flips are just so powerful, right?
Yeah, or sometimes they're awful.
Oh yeah, sometimes you flip trapdoor with full tempo and you go, "Ooh, this hero sucks."
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like we have another hero kind of joining the Wizards and Katsu area. Is that accurate?
I actually think he'll be around 3% or a little bit around that. I think it's around that area.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see it.
I agree with that.
This is a hero that kind of like Prism. If you've played him a lot, you're probably going to stick with him. Maybe you move to Slippy, maybe not. But yeah, I'd be comfortable here as well. Okay.
I think whether or not you bring Mario to a pro tour is just on how comfortable you feel into Gravy yourself as a player.
Mm-hmm.
I've had varying success and have seen people have varying success with it. Some people say it's impossible and struggle very struggle a lot with it. Some people say it's not a problem at all and they can win pretty consistently. Obviously, it's going to depend on how good the Marionette player is and how good the Gravy Bones player is on what, your personal experience will be. But to be honest, I think what the real answer is just how things line up. Like if the Mario draws the right answers to the things that Gravy does when he does them, yeah, the matchup's totally winnable. You can win. But there are some turns where, like, you have that hand that just doesn't clear at like anything, and you're like, please don't play Chum, please don't play Chum, and then they go Chum Sawbones, and you're like, I lose, and that just happens.
Oh no, yeah. All right, sounds like there's a little bit of variance involved with him. Also, extremely pilot demanding, but when you run 45 Majestics, your deck can only be so bad, right? Also, he has Codex, so there's that. Okay.
Yeah, he's very strong.
Yeah, he's pretty strong. All right. I think it's my turn to pick. I actually want to do a 2-for-1. I want to talk about Reinhardt and Eugene. So we'll start with Reinhardt, and then we'll talk about Eugene. So Reinhardt, one of the OGs from WTR, has a very, very good armor set, has pretty strong card quality as well. I think he's been getting more and more upgrades. We saw him get some upgrades from the last set, like Sea Legs and red and yellow Nimbleism, Nathan.
Still makes no sense.
So, yeah. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, that whole package for Gravy. We have traditionally said, hey, aggro metas are bad for Reinhardt, but after seeing Eugene slap around a Cindra, I'm like, well, you can only no block for so long and before you die. Very high damage output, obviously a little bit inconsistent, but that could be negated by a large number of games or just by, taking risks at the correct time. I feel like this is a hero that I don't know.
It's just bad.
Even though this hero has good armor, has good cards, somehow you add all that up together, and it doesn't quite get there unless you're Eugene. So I don't know.
It's like you're kind of bad against Assassin. I assume you're probably not great against Gravy. You're probably okay against Earth decks.
You're so bad into Gravy, you run yellow Nimbleism and Jack be nimble, Jack.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I guess you're okay.
You might be good
like,
into
Guardian.
Prism and Verdance. You lose the
Prism.
rest of the field. Unless you're Eugene.
Unless you're Eugene.
And then somehow you get it to a 50-50.
Somehow you do it. All right.
Yeah, but this is the non-Eugene Reinhardt we're talking about here.
Yes. We're not talking about. That's why I
keep it within the Reinhardt.
Yeah.
These are the unlucky people.
Yeah, these are the people that
unskilled. These are the unskilled Reinhardt players.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to bring him.
Yeah, it'd be C0 probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know there'll be one, so I guess technically.
Yeah. No, that's his own. That's his own category.
He's got his own little box
right here.
Oh, so we're saying okay, then yeah, it'd be
it's
two
right different heroes.
That'd be 0.
It's two different heroes. All right, so
unfortunate.
I'm gonna put him next to Fi. We can't put him down here. He's got good armor, good cards.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Let's go ahead and put Eugene in S tier very low.
Yeah. S tier very low.
All right.
Fucking Nimbleism Reinhardt. Jesus Christ.
For those of you guys who don't know the story here, I mean, Nathan, you started putting Eugene in his own category in your last tier list, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, look what happened. He put Nimbleism in Reinhardt just to prove me right.
Yeah. All right, so he's one of the most entertaining players to watch because he likes to take some risks and he's played the hero a lot. And he just makes the deck kind of look easy, even though it's obviously not an easy deck to play. Yeah.
Still
All
fun
right.
to talk to him about his games because he'll just take the wackiest line you'd ever like think of, and you're like, "There's no way that's right," and then he'll just
be like,
have like
he'll just do the
explain
math
it perfectly
on a
and like tell
napkin.
you why he did it like mathematically. You're like, "Oh, okay. Well, when you put it that way, I guess." I guess it was correct. My bad.
Yep. Okay. All right. We love you, Eugene, if you're watching this. Okay. I think it's back to you, Aaron. Not too many choices left.
Yeah. Let's get rid of the rest of these guardians. Can we just like put Valda in dumpster tier because like she's not a hero yet?
Put them both next to Maxx.
Okay, so Valda is
can hold
technically
hands.
legal, but
Yeah, but she doesn't have her cards yet.
she doesn't have any of her cards from the Guardian Mastery set or Super Slam, or there's a Valda Armory deck as well, right? Am I crazy?
I mean,
No, that's Pleiades,
that's Pleiades.
I think.
Okay.
Pleiades?
Okay. All right. Okay. So Valda doesn't have an armory deck.
Yeah.
She has the whole set.
No.
Guardian Mastery or Guardian.
Yeah.
Mastery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
like
out yet, so
her good
Okay.
cards and her specs in it. Like she's not a hero. So
Okay.
Imagine Guardian not being playable, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, but if I had a few seismic surges, then the deck would really click." Like, no, it's fucking trash.
You know the real reason she's
Dominant.
trash, guys, is because she doesn't have 42 health. If she had 42
yeah,
health,
that's right.
she'd be viable. But
Give her
LSS,
43, she still wouldn't be.
LSS decided to,
No heroes over 40.
You know, Nathan. This also reminds me of something that we talked about at the Hong Kong Nats. How much do you have to increase a hero's health before it starts becoming overpowered? We talked about a little bit about Olympia, saying how much intellect do we? If we just gave Olympia 5 intellect, could he beat the heroes up here? we'll have to do that as
like fatigue and stuff, you know.
It would just be DGA. Oh wait, it already is.
It already is.
Oh wait.
Okay.
You have an extra card to block with.
Whole extra card to block.
Yep. All right, Nathan. Pick a hero for us.
Bravo trash.
Is Bravo your pick that you want to talk about? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to get him out of the way. I'm tired of looking at him.
You're tired of looking at him. All right. So this hero, most famously, Nathan took this to Worlds. What happened between taking him to Worlds? And
I'm not proud of it.
I am never playing Bravo again.
Hey, in the same tournament, Hamilton did too, and we actually played a mirror match at Worlds.
Okay, well, can't be that bad of a hero then. All right, so
Right.
Bravo, another OG from WTR, has the Guardian text on him, has access to good Guardian cards, but this is just not a meta for Guardians. I think the only way to build him is a super fatigue deck, and obviously Gravy, Verdance, any of these combo decks going to eat you alive. Even like you can't fatigue mech anymore. Yeah,
he doesn't have anything going for him really. Like, it's just the crush cards aren't doing enough. Decks either have too much armor or they just do things stronger than you. And
sure,
like you don't have CYB, so you can even like try and play on that axis anymore. Now you have to just like actually play Boomer Bravo.
You have to actually win a game.
Yeah, it's just been like I don't know.
Boomer Bravo.
It needs some refreshment.
Sure,
He's something good.
We've been talking a lot of shit about like Guardians and stuff, but they are getting like 200 cards in like
we're getting
next
2 new
couple
ones.
months.
Yep.
But if you are a
Master
Guardian
Pack.
fan, just wait a little bit longer and then you'll be all right.
I'm worried for Guardian because they printed Warrior on Warrior hate cards, and that turned out not to help anything. They printed Guardian on Guardian hate cards, so I think they're destined possibly for the same fate. We'll see.
Did they?
Yes, there are Guardian
all
on
of the
Guardian
new
hate
like
cards.
Eve cards.
Yep.
Oh, good.
But it's like balanced for like, crack
Bindings
shuffle
of
play stuff.
yeah. Bindings of whatever. Okay. Damien, pick a hero.
Riptide.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, Damien was the highest placing Riptide at Pro Tour London. So I think you are the most qualified to talk about Riptide. I won't even give an
Yeah.
Come on, you
introduction to
can
this
win a
hero.
Pro Quest with Riptide, right?
Yeah, I have
Hmm?
LL points. I don't know what you're talking about, Josh.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Pro Tour
I'm not
placement,
even going
LL
to introduce this here. I'm just going to let you guys talk.
Roll of honor.
He's got
baby.
traps.
He's got a lot of traps. You play assassin, you play warrior, you're dying to this guy. For the most part. He's got a decent gravy matchup. It's winnable. It was because of Endless Arrow. Your Verdance matchup is fine because of fine. It's 50-50 or less because of Dreadbore. You can catch him with some D-Reacts, but on an Axis, I think your Verdance matchup is sketchy, but you can definitely win it. Yeah, your worst matchups are Guardians, but it doesn't look like they exist. They're all in the bottom of the corner. You're fine into any aggro decks. He plays really good value. Red Spine Manta, Dry Powder Shot, and Swift Shot, and especially Return Fire made this deck really good. I just don't think anybody plays it.
Return Fire is a card that I thought would be ridiculous, but it hasn't been adopted by Azalea. Well, good rest in pieces, Azalea. She's actually not on this list.
Riptide's the best Return Fire user out of all the Rangers. It's not even close.
Well, most of the time, Ranger wants to end their turn with an arsenal, so they actually don't usually have a free slot open to return fire.
Yeah, but that's what Trench is for. So,
somebody's asking if Manta matters because we had Redliner. Red Spine Manta, it lets you load while you have a card in your arsenal already. Redliner does not let you do that. It's very important for New Horizons plays.
okay. I mean, based on what you've said so far, Damien, everything seems okay. But I mean, does he have any bad matchups?
Yeah, he's got Guardian. And
So is he busted or what? Is he the Dark Horse?
I think he's A tier. I think he's A very low. I think there might be 1 to 2 people that bring him.
All right. Well, Damien, you're not going to Pro Tour Singapore, so I guess.
Wait. With 3 wizards in A tier, you're gonna put Riptide in A?
Yeah. You got Enchanted Quiver in AB and Spellblade.
Oh, because that's.
He said the
gonna
Verdance
suck.
matchup was good.
I said it was
Dreadbore.
50-50.
Bullshit.
That's good to me.
That's so cap. What are you gonna buzzsaw? They're failing and win the game. Get the fuck out of here.
No, you're gonna play Rain Razors, so just like roll them over.
No.
Come on,
No
that's how you
shot.
do it.
No shot. Wizard, auto loss. Done.
No. Riptide's great.
No.
And we are talking about like aggro Riptide, not like
Yes, we're talking
I
about
play
aggro
40
Riptide.
traps and murky water.
No, we're talking about Return Fire, Swift Shot, aggro Riptide. You got Rabbles in your deck, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because of the upgrades from High Seas, I think we could give him a chance. Not going to be a common hero, and you probably know if you've won or lost based on the hero flip. All right. I think it's chat's time to pick. Chat, what do you want to talk about? Not many heroes left. We're at the final quarter of heroes.
Let's go and do Puffin.
All right, Puffin. This is a hero that seems. I actually like the design of Puffin quite a bit. I like how they're leaning towards a new mechanic in mech. Seems very interesting. Seems like one that they can develop without having to deal with a lot of balance issues that Boost has to deal with, or God forbid the make a demi hero thing that Teklovossen and Maxx are trying to do. I think this hero is very, very interestingly designed. I've seen it kind of work, but there's so many things that need to line up for your turn to be slightly above average, that if you get a card from Puffin, sometimes their turn falls apart. If they don't draw well, their turn kind of falls apart. They're a little bit dependent on gold. The deck is, because this is a new mech deck, it's basically only playing cards from high seas. We've also seen them incorporate a little bit of boost cards from the older sets, but most Puffin decks are you kind of just build the best high seas deck that you can. I haven't seen this hero do too well.
It's
But I
kind of
think she's
annoying with
cool.
her because like she really likes gold, but she's really bad at making it. Gravy has a lot of natural ways to make gold with like golden tipples. Some of the cards give on hits, on hit gold like a Vastji. He can utilize the hook to generate gold, and a lot of times during Gravy games, he'll just make tons of gold and he can keep using his hero ability. Puffin really doesn't have a way to do that. Golden tipple's not very good in her. She can't really use hook that well, and she wants the Cogworks Tinker Rings. And really, like, her best gold generation is Sky Warden, but it's like such a conditional card because you have to draw it when you have a bunch of cogs that are about to expire, and then they have to be attacking you, and then you can make a stack of gold and be happy. But other than that, like, there's just not any good way to make gold, which means it's kind of tough to use your hero power unless you're actually casting crank cards like Copper Cog or Backup Protocol, and then you're kind of like losing a little bit of the value of draw cards stapled to your hero power when you're having to like cast these awful cards from your hand just to like make your engine work.
Yeah, the
You have this like fragmentation between boosting and the pirate stuff where like the best pirate cards like Conquer the High Seas means that you can't really reliably boost, but if you're not playing all of these boost attacks, you just don't have as many like strong turns in your deck because there just aren't enough good cards to play in Puffin without relying on like the boost mechanic. I don't know, it's just like a lot of holes in her ship basically.
All right,
I don't know. I had a good deck with the pistol, but then Dash LL.
Yeah, that is true. She did lose a weapon. What is the card that you destroy an ally and make gold based on the cost?
Midas Touch.
Midas Touch. Okay. Can you? Okay, I was gonna.
You want to kill your own bird?
I was gonna suggest
You're
that,
gonna
but
shoot
I realized
Polly just for
then
money?
I realized Polly doesn't cost anything, so she doesn't actually turn into gold. So
That's horrible.
no,
I can't believe you did
That
that.
seems really bad. You want to go card negative and blow up your bird?
Don't do that, guys.
Poor Polly.
Bad idea. Bad idea. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. So,
Oh god.
that would definitely get a thumbs down from Merrick. Okay, so this is a deck that does have some pretty powerful Majestics. Has Dovetail, has the planar one as well. But it's kind of difficult to reliably get that, as you guys talked about. Gold generation, very, very difficult for a hero that is really dependent on using their hero ability. This deck seems cool, but feels a little bit incomplete, mainly because they introduced a whole new mechanic for the class, and they haven't really had time to flesh it out yet. Where do we want to put Puffin?
Probably very low played. I think there's like a couple people who like her enough that will bring her.
Give her at least a
we see her
B.
popping up.
I think it's very low B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be as low as C, but
all right. Let's talk a little bit about the B and C differentiation here.
I think that she's not very consistent, but I think that her good turns are really good. Like if you can line up your cogs with your powerful Majestics, like Planeteer is just an insane card. And if you can efficiently keep some cogs around and then have like a really nice like Dovetail Planeteer back-to-back turn, like you can do some pretty good things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's usually enough to make her, a great deck, but it is very individually powerful, like things she can do.
Yeah. Golden Sky Warden also.
And the deck may also not be solved. That's what I'm banking on. I think maybe somebody actually put something together for Pro Tour. And I'm interested if there's actually a Puffin deck that completely ignores just gold in general, and like maybe you just use cog in the machine to kind of like draw a card or something. Just I don't think that idea is particularly great. I'm just saying that maybe there's something out there that somebody's trying that lets it do something a little bit unique and a little bit better. But currently, I'm not too keen to just sit there and like generate a bunch of cogs and then hope that I draw something that asks for cogs. It's kind of,
Okay.
it's tough to balance.
Sure. Yep.
All right. Chat wants Bolton.
Oh. All right. Well,
We got
Bolton
some
is a man of the people. and
MILBers in the chat.
We are men of the people. All right. This is a hero that, unfortunately, guys, I have come down on over time. Even with the whole NIMBY package, that is, the more you play with Bolton, you will realize how much of an opportunity cost having non-light and non-yellow cards are. There are many, many cards that specify light and yellow, or both. So putting a NIMBY package into your deck, well, then you take it another step. You're like, well, if we put NIMBY in, surely E-Strike's good enough. And hey, if E-Strike's good enough, surely Snag is good enough. Not Snag, Snatch is good enough. And if Snatch is good enough, well, why don't we run Sink Below? That's a really good card too. And then you end up with a deck with like 30 generics. And
yeah, kind of like the one that Yuki played at her nationals, right? That had like all the NIMBY package and the snatches and stuff.
That is a way to build Bolton. I would not go more than like 3 Nimbalism, 2 Jack B, whatever's you want to put in there. And some NIMBYs as well, obviously. I don't think you go more than 3 or 4. I've seen some people go 5 or 6, and it's just too much. If you aren't consistently flipping cards off of Lumina, you're missing 2 value there every single time you fail to flip a light card. Possibly more, because oftentimes you go down really low on Soul to make a play with Lumina. Your Via the Vanguard turns become really clunky. The Vanguard turns are very important when you're running Tunic, because you want to have a 5-card hand and you don't want to pay for anything. And when you have non-light cards, they can't go into your Soul, and you're forced to play them, which can be good. Like Via the Vanguard with Snatch at the very end is actually one of the best things you can do. The issue is that when you draw multiple, your turn really, really collapses. You might even draw like Via the Vanguard 2 generics, and then you draw a power card, and then you're forced to charge the power card. So, yeah. So, I actually think going back to the more straightforward, aggressive Bolton deck is probably the more stable way to play him right now. Unfortunately, that means Bolton didn't really get any new tools. Combo Bolton. I love Combo Bolton, and any excuse I could have to play Combo Bolton, I would. The only situation you'd play Combo Bolton is if the ninjas get to like half the representation. Maybe you could play Combo Bolton. You're still fragile to Warmongers. Fragile to CNC at the very end. Fragile to Censor at the very end. So
Budo, Frailty tokens.
Yeah, there's a lot of hate right now for Combo Bolton, and yeah, so we shouldn't even talk about that. There is a DGA version of Bolton. Again, I don't think that's quite the metaphor.
Speaking of things we shouldn't talk about.
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh gosh.
So yeah. If you're playing Bolton, I think the best way to do it is you either go a small NIMBY package or you play the straightforward, aggressive version of Bolton. I also want to mention, since I'm on my pulpit right now, I think you probably should streamline your equipment as Bolton. There's some lists that are running 13, 14, 15 equipment pieces. Just focus your deck more. I actually think it's totally fine. Just run Tunic. You don't need to run Soul Bond. Just run Tunic, and you'll be fine. Okay.
You gotta respect Kano though.
Yeah. He's one of the decks that actually is decent against Kano, because you can run Radiant Flow plus Halo. It's not bad. All right, let's talk a little bit about his matchups right now. This is the warrior that is best against board state based decks, and Prism because you have 7 power poppers that are naturally in your deck. Plus, you have access to Raiden clearing things. If you block down to 0 cards, you can still clear an aura. Traditionally, you've been okay against Dio because, I mean, Pulse Wave can really screw up some of your turns, but she has a very, very difficult time blocking you. If you run the pure aggro version that's running Tunic, you should be sufficiently fast against the wizards. But I think you're quite frail to Disruption. Obviously, you're not good against Codex. You often aren't running a lot of armor, so things like Leave No Witnesses often just, you can block the first Leave No Witnesses with your Warband plus your Iron Song verses, but after that it gets really, really dicey. Yeah, I think he's okay, but I would not... I don't think we're going to see a lot of him. I think he actually goes basically where Fang is going. They're just... I can name the amount of times I've seen Bolton on stream in the last year. Like, it just doesn't... There's just not a lot of people that are good at him, that are playing him. And
do you think it's going to be more than 0?
Oh, it might be 0. It might be 0, now that you mention it. Especially with, I think Bolton players are coming to the conclusion that
it might be 1.
Yeah, which is basically 0. Except in Eugene's case, we're saying 1 is greater than 0. I'm gonna put him over here. He had one of the lowest win rates in that season, and I think that's actually because people went too hard on the NIMBY package. If you've played Bolton long enough, you know the opportunity cost of having non-light cards in your deck. Okay. You guys want to add anything to Bolton? I was talking the whole time.
No.
No? Okay. All right. Aaron.
That's perfect.
Pick a hero.
Marlin.
Marlin. All right. So
Death Dealer's gone.
Now that Death Dealer's gone, people can't draw cards from her hero ability. She's forced to use Harpoon.
Cannon.
You got to play Harpoon. And the payoffs for playing Harpoon.
I know there's a few very passionate...
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of rough. There's a few very passionate Marlin players, but...
Okay, so...
Chief.
I've found 2 types of decks, mainly. We have the, like, Lexi cosplay Marlin, and then we have the...
She can't do anymore.
The way she was intended to be
that's
built.
gone.
Yeah. The way she was intended to be built by LSS, the Harpoon build. Feels like another hero that's not quite finished because, very similar to Puffin, they have introduced a new mechanic and they haven't had enough time to flesh it out. Feels very similar to Puffin, but weaker than Puffin. Kind of leaning towards just putting her over here. She has access to Codex, so she can't be in D. Unless you're Huntsman. Right? Them the rules. All right. Anything else to add on this here?
Nope.
Okay.
I think once someone builds a deck that has the right ratios and figured out the right cards needed to attack the meta, and maybe gets off of some of the more cards that you would expect that you need to play but actually are just bad.
Right.
I think that you might be able to come up with a list, because she can do some really powerful things, to be honest. Like, if she rolls hot, she can just send like 13, 15 overpower, go fish at you, consistently. She has Codex. Like, she can do the thing. But if she draws her cards in the wrong order, she draws her bad blues or her buffs after 3 of a kind, like, she just doesn't do anything. So she kind of has a lot of variance, but she is pretty strong. So I think there is something there, but I don't think it's quite her time yet. Unless someone, figures out something that we don't know yet.
Sure. All right. Nathan, what are we talking about next?
Vinny, I guess.
All right. Good old Vincent had a flash in the pan moment in the Pro Quest season. This was actually one of the decks that was one of the better decks to play at Pro Quest season. I forget what... Oh, this was picking on Aurora. So Aurora is the aggro deck. So Vinny, traditionally not too bad against the aggro decks. I think people are generally pretty down on this hero at the moment, mainly because very, very difficult to pilot. You're very, very fragile to disruption. I don't think you're very good against Gravy.
A lot of people are saying that this is a dark horse pick. I don't see it. I really don't. Typically, her best environments are ones where there's a lot of aggro coming into you, and you basically have the ability to kind of dictate the flow of the game by slowing it down or speeding it up. The problem is that Slippy can present those situations where you know y- the problem with Vinny is if you take her second to last card, you basically take her last card because she deletes one from her hand during her turn, right? So any deck that can like force that final evolution of getting rid of cards in your hand, like Slippy, it can be pretty tough, even though it is an aggro deck and you're typically good in that strategy. So I'm not. You also have Verdance. You're pretty good into Prism, of course. You do have the Reaping Blade tech that a lot of people are running for the Gravy matchup, and which all to say is not amazing. You're just going to be bad into a lot of the Wizards. Period. Don't care really what anybody says. Yeah, I think she's okay. I think she's solid. But I don't think she's particularly winning anything. Maybe top of B, bottom of A, kind of leaning more toward B.
Okay. Is this in the very low meta percentage?
I think she could sneak in next to Victor, maybe.
Okay.
Couple people try.
Yeah, this is a hero like I mentioned. This was played in ProQuest season, and if you qualified from playing Vincent, you're more likely to play her at the Pro Tour. Definitely a gem roulette hero. You don't want to run into any disruptive deck because
you're like really bad against Verdance.
Yeah,
You're pretty good against the assassins. She's good against any deck where she can block and like throw a rune gate, over and over again. You just kind of outvalue most things in the long run, but against like decks that can block her on demand consistently, or decks that deny her block value, like Verdance with the arcane, it's pretty rough.
Okay. All right, we got 4 heroes left.
All right, Azuri. I don't know why she's still here. Let's talk about her real quick.
All right, so
she's an assassin. She has
an assassin
cards.
Also had one of the worst win rates at Nat season. Very, very low representation. Does have access to Codex. Potentially could take advantage of Slippy's hero texts. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah.
You get to play Flick Knives. You get to play, Already Dead and Shakedown, and
she just doesn't have
Command
enough like high
Conquer.
damage spikes that Arakni does. Like she can be fairly consistently disruptive with Shakedown and Command and Conquer, but her ceiling in terms of numbers is usually just like, here's a thing into 6. Sometimes you can't stop the 6, but it's still 6, right? So people will just buy their time and then kill you. Whereas Arakni could actually pressure your life total while disrupting you, which I think is kind of a big deal. I think compared to like Mario, Mario, the daggers with like Chalicera are very strong. So pitching into daggers and playing cards that synergize with daggers and then following up with something like a Command and Conquer is really good and very resource efficient, especially with like the Chalicera only costing 1. Whereas, if you're trying to do any kind of dagger stuff in Azuri, and also use your hero power, it's not as efficient because you're not using the excess resources from daggers if you're swapping in a whole stealth attack to do the Azuri tricky thing. But if you're only doing the swaps, then you're not doing dagger stuff. So I just don't think she has enough output compared to Arakni.
Okay. She has Codex, so I don't think we can put her in D tier.
Yeah.
I'm going to put her over here.
Yeah, probably that like C pile. I don't think anyone's really going to bring her.
All right, 3 heroes left. Let's go KO Dory Ira, because Ira has the new toys. All right, KO. This deck is a mid-range value deck that has access to good armor, has pretty good turns overall. Doesn't have that much disruption, has send packing. It's a deck that's a little bit fragile to disruption. Did he get anything from High Seas? Did he get, I guess, Sea Legs? But that's more for Reinhardt.
Yeah.
He got the
He
sea
got
legs.
he got 2 cards. He got Rally the Coast Guard and Sea Legs.
Okay. And
yeah, and they're pretty solid.
They're I mean, some solid cards there. Nathan, I think you briefly mentioned you thought that this was
I don't know.
like a not an awful pick. Maybe you have some more to say here.
I mean, he just does good numbers, right? Like, it's an aggro deck that can scale with the hand size, but it doesn't rely on it. Now, you obviously need to come in with a good plan. You know, do you bring in cards like Wild Ride and stuff like that into a deck like Slippy? There's something you got to figure out. But I mean, a deck that can do really good damage on a 4-card hand, but can also stay on rate with a 2-card hand is kind of a goes hand in hand with the ideologies of like, warrior and how much they can kind of mid-range. But instead you actually have good equipment instead of just mediocre equipment, because you have Savage Sash, and then you also have Scowling Flesh Bag, and it's explosive. It really just does a lot of things. The question is it good enough? And if there's no innovation on the deck, the answer is probably no. It's a respectable pick, but I wouldn't, if I was taking the tournament extremely serious, which I think most are. I do not think it's the pick.
I think it's all right. I think,
Yeah.
you have a rum, you play a Blood Rush, you crack Savage Sash. You can do some crazy turns. You could end up with like 30 damage, 35 damage.
I'd say next to Puffin, something like that. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think many are going to bring it, but I do think it is an okay pick.
Yep.
Okay. All I heard from that, Nathan, was that Scowling Flesh Bag is better than Kabuto. Really?
Oh yeah. Not
Just
even
checking.
the realm of card.
Really good.
You can guess how much Jupiter is going to get. There are Scowlings that end turns. Like,
That's true. That's true. All right. Let's talk about what I would be playing if I went to Singapore. Unfortunately, I'm not. Dorinthia Iron Song, obviously an OG from the very first set. Primarily played these days as a mid-range Dawnblade build with sufficient numbers of go again. So I've seen some people cutting cards like Precision Press. Don't do that. You need all your blues to accept Overpower to give you go again, preferably. Because cards like heroes like Gravy, you need to have a density of go agains. For those of you who remember the Dromai days, you basically had to run a minimum number of go-agains in your blue slot just to have enough to clear the whole board. Now, you could also play this as a hatchet deck. I think that's currently a little bit old-fashioned. I think it's still okay to play this as a hatchet deck. However, the rise of Wizards makes me very nervous to play a hatchet deck. You're also not particularly fast, so I wouldn't even be thrilled to play against Dio. Traditionally, the hatchet deck would just fatigue Dio. You can't really do that anymore. So I think the primary build these days is Dawnblade, and I think you need to flex having a DGA in your sideboard. For those of you who have played Dory long enough, you remember how we used to deal with assassins back in the day. So when Azuri was a decent deck, it was not uncommon to run a full Dawnblade deck with a sideboard DGA for the assassins. You bring in your whole deck and you block and you fatigue them. And I don't think that based on how I analyze the Slippy decks, maybe I'm crazy, guys, but I don't think that they have enough damage output if you have I think at 9 D-Reacts plus DGA plus your fat deck, I think you're fine against Slippy. And then you maintain all the good stuff from having Dawnblade Dory. Dawnblade Dory in this current meta is pretty good because you do fine against the aggressive decks, such as Cindra and Dio. I think those are both fine. Obviously, you prefer to go... you prefer to have like the full package with glistening steel blade and stuff like that, but I don't even think that's necessary. So you're decent against like the decks that can't block or don't want to block. So Oscilio, Katsu, even Kano's in that camp. And then you also have enough blocking power. You have enough D-Reacts to deal with decks like Prism and the Assassins. And then obviously you just completely destroy Gravy Bones. This is a matchup that at minimum is 80-20. Honestly, if you build your deck and you don't cut corners on your blues and you run your precision press like a good boy, you should be at 90% or more. And if you really want to just bully these top meta decks, this is a decent pick, I think. You're complete garbage into Florian, though. As good as you are in Gravy, right? But Florian sucks, and you shouldn't play Florian. So, so yeah, you're obviously bad into Victor. You're bad into Florian. You're not amazing into, obviously like Riptide and stuff like that. But I think Dawnblade Dorinthia is actually very, very well positioned, and I'm definitely going to be rooting for her at Pro Tour Singapore. I think she is definitely going to go in this area here. Definitely going to be at least 1 to 3% of people. I don't think this is going to be a super popular pick, but she's good, and she does.
You think Dawnblade's the way to go, not Hatchets, right?
Yes, for sure. At the moment, you need to have the ability to. I mean, Hatchets is also fine against Gravy, but it's not as dominating. And then you don't put a lot of pressure on these 4 decks here or 5 decks. These 5 decks, if you're playing Hatchets, they just disrespect you, and the game gets difficult. So yeah, if I brought Dory, I would bring a standard mid-range list running Grains, and I would run 6 to 9 D-Reacts. I probably would disrespect Kano. I would probably run Snag, and I would probably run a DGA in my sideboard to deal with Assassins. That's how I would build them. Any other thoughts on Dorinthia?
Nope.
I think she's pretty solid. I think Dawnblade can snowball if you predict your opponent's blocks correctly, and
I actually want to talk about that because so traditionally I've said Dawnblade is better at RTN PQ levels than it is at the Pro Tour because you're playing against pros, right? So pros know, okay, you have 1 card and 2 floating. They're like, okay, it could be Puncture, it could be Singing Steel Blade, it could be Blade. They could literally list out all the possibilities and they know what could be coming. The issue is that at the moment, who cares if they know what you could have? Most of these decks don't even want to block you. Every deck here, other than Verdance, doesn't want to block you. Gravy is like a whole nother matchup by itself. You're sidestepping these matchups by playing DGA. Like, who cares if your opponent has very good knowledge of what Dorinthia does? They can't block, or they present allies, or you present a DGA. So, like, yeah. Just don't run into Victor or Florian, and you'll be good.
You just got to make sure that you can present a reasonable threat without the use of reprise cards, right?
Yeah.
Warrior's Valor is usually enough to do that.
Yeah, I see a lot of people incorrectly playing with Iron Song Response and Singing Steel Blade in the aggro matchups. You're supposed to cut down to 2 and 2. Normally you play 3 and 3. You don't want to draw them in pairs. And basically the hypergeometric says if you have 4 copies of these very reprise dependent cards, you won't see 2 in a hand very often. So yeah. She's a good hero. definitely my dark horse pick for taking this tournament. This looks like a very, very beautiful spread to me. And also, you are going to get some very, very, very salty, spiky, super try-hard gravy players that are going to cry when they see you flip over Dory.
It's so funny.
Yeah, they're going to.
That's why I don't recommend people play gravy. You're just going to lose to random people playing Dory.
Yep. Or Ira.
You're going to be sad. Or Ira.
Speaking of Ira.
Oh, Ira.
Oh, good old Ira. All right, so this is a deck that has traditionally been built as value.deck. However, with the new Ira Armory deck cards, this deck has changed a little bit. Damien, I think on Tuesday we're actually going to be going over this deck. So why don't you walk me through a little bit? Because I don't know much.
Well, you have two ways to play this deck now. You have the dual threat version that plays Kodachis, and then you have the Edge of Autumn deck, which is all about, the Vengeance cards and whatnot. You have Whirling Mist Blossom, Headpiece to tutor out, the cards. I think it's more like it's still a mid-range deck, but I think it's more like an aggro deck nowadays. I mean, you have cute little cards you can discard to the Headpiece to search up Whirling Mist Blossom, like Fiddler's Green and Sea Legs to make some rum. But it's still, like, at its core, a mid-range deck. It's got a good gravy matchup, nearly unlosable, I think, if you play it right. And then all of its other matchups are just, like, skill-intensive.
There's not much you don't want to see. I would say your bad matchups are like Kano is pretty bad. Florian can be pretty tough. Verdance can be pretty tough. But everything else I feel like is pretty even or favored. I think you just outvalue a lot of decks. You present enough damage that decks have a clock to beat you. But you also play enough D-reacts and block well enough that you won't get run over by aggro decks just doing their thing. And you have enough disruption, partially with some of the new cards, that you can kind of consistently keep the aggro decks on the back foot a bit. So I think you're very good into things like Cindra. You have enough D-reacts to be fairly decent into the assassins. You auto win against Gravy for the most part. I think your matchup into Gravy is a lot better than even Cindra's matchup into Gravy is, because you actually have the ability to do the whole perma clear plus throw things at face, but you have some disruption and you can actually block relevant things like Conquer the High Seas, where Cindra kind of just has to eat it every time.
I believe Ira and Dorinthia currently have the highest win rate against Gravy. So these are two decks you definitely don't want to see if you're playing Gravy.
Yeah.
All right, so again, this is a deck that's not super difficult to pilot. I guess the difficulty would be finding the correct build that incorporates the new cards.
It's been very tricky. I've seen a lot of variants with people sharing their Ira decks using the new stuff. There's a lot of ways you can go, both in using the new stuff or not using the new stuff at all.
And that's probably a good thing, right? Because when you sit down and they don't know what style you're going to present, or in this case, what weapons you're going to flip,
it can be an advantage. Yeah,
it can be a definite advantage. All right, where are we thinking?
If someone brings a good list, they're going to have a good advantage. I think she's a dark horse.
I think she's
Yeah, I think this deck's going to surprise a lot of people.
This is the hero that I would be playing if I went to Singapore. So I have faith in it.
All right. So the rule of thumb is that you got to put 3 things in S tier. Is this?
Do you? I actually don't really think there's.
Is that what we're doing?
Heroes, to be honest.
Well, when I think when Nathan put 5, he got chewed out for that. So,
yeah, you can't put too many. You can put less.
We can force.
Is Slippy the only S tier hero? Slippy and Eugene? Is that all we're saying?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that. If we have to put another one, in my opinion, I think it should be Katsu. But
I mean, we could move Slippy down and leave Eugene in S tier.
Yeah.
No, I think Slippy's good.
Okay, so do you guys like where I put Ira? Kind of in this low A. low meta share A tier.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So we put all 35 heroes on this alignment chart tier list combo. I like how this looks compared to the last ones we did, where it's just like a curve that's like everything's overlapping. It does lose a little bit of nuance, but I do think this is a pretty good representation of things. Is there anything that we want to move around now that we've placed everything on here based on where we put things maybe after it? Because we put a lot of heroes first.
I think Cindra is probably going to be more played than we're saying she is. I think she might need to go over into the large category.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she has, even though a lot of people say she's bad and she doesn't always convert very well in large numbers, all these Nats, she's still one of the most played decks at all of them. I think that's probably not going to change for Pro Tour. And we're seeing Slippy start to get more popular, but I don't think that's going to like knock Cindra down all that much. So I still think she'll be probably in the top 3 most played decks at Singapore.
Yep. I also kind of want to move Kassai over to this section here. I think
she might be played a little bit more.
I think all the Fang players are moving to Kassai, and there's
you think there'll be more Kassai than Dory, right? That kind of makes sense.
Yes, I think there's going to be more Kassais than Dories. And this is a deck that like it's performed moderately well. It's won Australian Nats. It was first seed going into Canada Nats. We saw Pablo Pintor playing Kassai. So I think this is a deck that people are like looking into. They're like, all right, hold on, is this whole dual wield warrior good in this format? And that's not really the question. The question is blood on her hands and riches of Tropal, whatever it's called, and Raisin Army, are those good enough? Yeah? I think so.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
She's kind of surprising people.
Yep. Okay. I want to open up like 10, 15 minutes to chat, to ask us questions about this tier list or about the metagame or anything like that, while I quickly do we call this a sanity check. Make sure all this adds up to 100. So we'll give you guys a little bit of time to ask questions in chat, and I will do a little bit of math. And Nathan will tell you a story or something.
A story.
Yep.
Every time with Nathan.
I need a bedtime
Show
story,
me
Nathan.
a Kassai
It's getting
list with
late.
no blues. You can probably fire. Oh, Mara's showing her support for Fang. Although Fang's looking a little rough right now. A little rough, to say the least.
Mara hates blue cards.
With Azalea getting LL, does it make hate boarding versus Slippy a bit easier for other decks? I don't know what people were playing into Azalea that frees up room. So if anything, I would say Azalea leaving does nothing but benefits warriors, whether they're dual wielding or not. It's kind of a matchup that they really didn't want to see. I would say that's the biggest change with Azalea leaving.
I'm glad the only other deck that could really flip up Dreadbore against Riptide is gone.
There you go. Is Katsu really that good to be bordering S? Aaron said that it could have even been S, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think he's the sleeping giant or whatever. I think we'll see some of them repressed Katsu masters finally get unshackled and come out and beat up on everybody.
All right, sanity check says that this adds up to about 85%, but I didn't label these as I labeled these as 10 each. So.
Well, the most represented historically is 13 to 16%.
So this might this probably should have a little bit more nuance, but yeah, basically, if you
Give or
put
take
these,
from there.
if you add these 3 up, probably you're going to get 40%. So you need to make sure that you have a deck that can kind of handle these. Kind of go from there.
Which Ira is good against all of them, so play Ira.
Yep. All right. I can't see chat. I'll let Nathan kind of bring up the questions and we can talk about it.
Felipe says Bravo's a bit too high. I don't know how much lower you can give, man. I'm sorry.
We just put him back in the chosen wisely column. Choose wisely.
Of note, we did not organize any heroes within these 25 categories, right? If I had to organize
so
this,
the order doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the order doesn't matter. It's just mainly like, again, we tried to make
Are they
this
in the
an
box or not?
Yeah, are they in the box or not?
All right, we got. What do you think Fi needs to get to LL? Well, he definitely needs some new cards, and
Cindra's got to go first.
He's pretty
27
old now,
LL
and
points.
LSS just never prints cards for him. Like he got a couple in the Hunted, but like I really feel like they need some Phoenix Flame Matters expansion slot cards. Like really push the whole Phoenix form. Maybe make some cards that can change their name to Phoenix Flame. Like give them some more unique identity. Like if Cindra is doing the dagger thing, Fi is doing the Phoenix Flame thing. But for right now, it's like all Fi is doing is just head jab, swing sword, and you play one Phoenix Flame that you start in the bin. I want to see more reasons to play more Phoenix Flames and actually get value out of having that card specifically, on the combat chain.
If you look at every hero here, Fi, I think, is the only one that doesn't run his class plus talent Majestics. He does run Spreading Flames, but he doesn't run Phoenix Form. I mean, just eyeballing this, like,
Yep.
Almost every hero runs their class plus talent or their specializations.
It's just way too hard to turn on Phoenix Form. It's like you have to physically get all 3 Phoenix Flames on the chain, and all the cards that let you do that are really bad. You have to play like garbage like Inflame. You have to get really lucky with the Tutor and like also having a Rise from the Ashes. It's just like it's so much effort.
In your deck.
Yeah, you have to register 3 Phoenix Flame. You're probably going to draw them at the start of the game. Like it takes so much effort to just get them out that you won't even have any extra support to like even try and make the Phoenix Form hit, right? So then they're just going to block it and you won't get the cool draw 3 thing. So he definitely needs some assistance.
Okay. Any other questions?
Jamie got one question. Is the Riptide aggro list flexible in construction, or should you just copy the Poison the Tips list?
You need to change that list. Poison the Tip. Ain't it?
I don't understand what Poison the Tips actually does. Riptide's not shooting that many arrows, and it doesn't even become positive value until you hit with 2 arrows.
It's like bad winter's bite. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, like it.
Yeah.
If you play Poison the Tip and then an arrow hits, they discard a card. You're now even.
I play like an aggro list
that.
with like Manta and Dreadborn. I play like I just play a lean aggro deck. I mean, you definitely should. It's a very flexible deck. You can play Ravels, E-Strikes. It's just play all the good cards. I like Rain Razors a lot, so you obviously play like Falcon Wings and Bolton Shots. So.
Okay.
Someone asked for the Ira list that I would have played at Singapore. I actually did post an Ira deck on our Patreon, and that is actually the exact list that I would bring to Singapore. So, yeah, if you want it, you can find it there. I think I did something pretty unique that is very simple in its construction, but it's something that most people haven't been, doing with their first versions. And I don't know. I feel very comfortable with it. So if you want it, go check it out. Go win Singapore for me.
Get Iris and LL points.
I guess someone asked for dark horses. If we each had to pick a dark horse, what would our dark horse be? we've kind of like, I think I already talked about this. I said one of the ninjas, Ira or Katsu.
I agree with Aaron.
I think it'd be Katsu.
I'm going to be contrarian and say Dorinthia.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Wow.
you're really surprising me here, Josh.
Basically, anyone in that low A box, you know, is like those are the dark horses plus Riptide. So any of those
Plus
heroes
Or
doing really, really
anything
well.
in these boxes too. Eugene is dark horse too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eugene's the dark horse.
Quickly summarize why these are dark horses. So Oscilio has the ability to combo and he has a good matchup spread. Katsu, Ira got pretty substantial buffs from the Ira Armory deck. Kano, we're in a current disrespect Kano meta. Dorinthia has a solution for every hero in this area here, other than Florian and Victor. So, and Kano. So I think her matchup threat is really, really solid. You have to build her in a particular way, but I think she's very solid.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we could.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. I think we can kind of wrap things up now. Is there any more chat questions that you think are good that need to be answered?
That's it.
I think we about covered it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, then I will kind of put my mouse over here so you guys can. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you skipped all the way over here, go back. What are you doing? But yeah, this is the final tier list / alignment chart for Pro Tour Singapore. For those of you guys going to Pro Tour Singapore, good luck. This is actually a pretty healthy meta, I think. This is the first time where I felt like, okay, there's a lot of choices at the moment, and nothing feels super egregious. I think LSS also agrees. The last BNR was literally 2 words, no changes. And yeah, so what do you guys think about this current meta and this tier list that we made?
I think it's kind of cool to be in a meta where there's not really like obvious S tier decks. You know, everything is like A tier to S tier strength, but caveats depending on what matchups you end up facing. And then other than Slippy, you know, we kind of bumped into S just because he seems to have a very nice matchup spread compared to some of the other decks. But there isn't like an obvious, like, this is the best deck, and then here's the possible list of maybe viable decks just because you can kind of beat the best deck sometimes. So it's kind of cool. You know, it's still like we started with, it's very gravy centric. So if you're a fan of a hero that's really bad into gravy, I'm sorry. That's just how these like gatekeeper focus metas can be sometimes. But if you're playing a deck that's good into gravy, then you're pretty happy. And if you're playing gravy, then you're the problem. So
Just dodge.
Dip, dive, and dodge. Yep. All right. Well, I guess we'll kind of wrap things up now. Thank you guys so much for watching this live Pro Tour Singapore tier list brought to you by the Chart Guys. Big thank you to Righteous Gaming and Dragon Shield for sponsoring things here. Like Aaron mentioned, we also have a Patreon. If you'd like to support us there, the links are in the description. We try to upload a bunch of a good variety of content now that we have a larger team, so check it out. I think that's pretty much everything. Any closing thoughts? Go Dory?
who's going to win Pro Tour? We didn't say that.
Well, one of the ninjas or the warriors. A ninja warrior.
Roll
All
Tide.
right. Roll Tide. All right.
That's good.
We're going to get out of here. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.
See ya.
Hey man, did you get the KO deck for Worlds? No one's doing that, okay? Like,
Aaron just played a whole horse down. Don't kill him. You're getting greedy. You're getting too current. Some guy put him in the middle for now. That's perfect. All right, next year.
RTN champion.
Yeah, we're gonna have to order a couple more.
Thanks for watching the video.
Here's some more Card Guys videos you might enjoy.